Welcome back to the show. As you can see today, we're going to be going over my favorite vehicle on the planet, my favorite vehicle of all time, Lamborghini Aventador. We'll go over all the reasons why I think this is the best car that you can ever buy. And I know what you guys are thinking. This is a very impractical supercar. There are plenty of better supercars on the market in terms of ones that are easier to drive, easier to live with on a daily basis. But we also have to define what a supercar is. We'll do all that in a second. We're just going to look at some of these videos. Right here we can see a base Aventador. So this is going to be an LP 700. The cheapest of them all. I do think that a regular base Aventador is such a good car, especially for the money. The price ranges in Aventador go crazy. Like, you can have ones as low as 220 grand. They go all the way up past $1 million. So a huge price range for these cars, which is why I think that it's not easy, but you can potentially drive these cars for free. And I'll explain what I mean in a second. Now, in the current economic time, I understand that... Wow, what's he doing? The Citroen is acting crazy. In the current time, it's hard to get financing for stuff like this. Dang, they almost got hit too. But yeah, we can talk all about that in a second. What is going on to everybody in the chat? What is up? What is up? Don't forget to like the video on your way in. It's going to be a good one today. It's funny, I was debating on whether doing this video because I know a lot of people, people are interested in supercars, but in terms of actually purchasing one for themselves, a lot of people don't believe that they can actually own one, so they won't really look up videos like this. But I just wanted to do a nice tribute to this car, simply because it's my favorite car of all time. Let's look at some other videos. This one's an amazing video. This is an SVJ in the Philippines, in Manila. Iconic video. You can hear how much different the SVJ exhaust sounds. It's a lot more high-pitched. For a while, the Murcielago was actually my favorite Lamborghini because of the sound compared to the first generation Aventadors. Those stock Aventadors, they don't have that high-pitched scream that you're used to from the V12 that you can hear right now. But with exhaust, like an aftermarket exhaust, that's easily fixable. And the Aventador is just such a more modern car than the Mercy. The Mercy, you can probably expect really high maintenance costs. In order to keep that on the road, it's going to cost probably 2 or 3 times as much as an Aventador. Plus, with the Aventador, you get creature comforts, you get CarPlay. Just a much more modern and usable car, even though it still is a Lamborghini Aventador. But yeah, one of the best sounds of any machine. Another reason why, we'll get into the reasons in a second, but I just want to touch on this. The Aventador is the last naturally aspirated Lamborghini. Well, I guess the whatever version of the Huracan they're coming out with now is the last naturally aspirated Lamborghini, but the last V12 naturally aspirated Lamborghini, they're not going to do it ever again. Lambo has to keep up with emission standards. They also have to keep up with always growing the power numbers, you know what I mean? Every Aventador, every V12 Lambo that comes out, the successive ones have to be more and more powerful than the last. And they were kind of reaching the ceiling with the naturally aspirated 6.5 liter V12. Yeah, very high pitched. This is a very iconic noise. When I was living in Miami, in Brickell, I was living on, well, this is when I was actually living in downtown. So I was living off of Biscayne, right across from Bayside. And so right there in front, like, if you're familiar with Miami, right in front of Bayside, but before you get to the bridge to cross over to South Beach, there's like this big straight that goes in front of the heat arenas of bikes. We'll talk about bikes for a second. That's why I rode, I don't have it anymore, but I had a Triumph Daytona 675 because it had one of the highest seat heights out of any 600 series bike. And so, yeah, that's why I rode that bike specifically. What else? We got a dyno video. Let's see what kind of numbers this SV is putting. We just heard an SVJ. This is an SV stock. I'd say the SVJ has a much higher pitched exhaust, much smoother sound, while the SV has a much more aggressive exhaust. Hey, shout out to you, Trini Man. What's going on? You got Jacob Black and Trini Man in the chat. What's going on, y'all? But as I was saying, going back to this, SV has a much more aggressive, raspy tone. It's not as smooth. It's not as high pitched. Obviously, this can be fixed with an exhaust. I'm just talking how it comes stock out of the box. $6,000 is where it starts to take off. Red line around 8,300 RPM. Peak power is around 8,250, but it goes a little bit further than that. As you can see here, the power this is making at the wheels. So we have 767 horsepower at the wheels. So what this has is a Capristo straight pipe exhaust, and it's making 747 Newton meters. I'm not sure what that is. Hold on, let me just Google that. 747 Newton meters in LBFT. That's around 550 pound-feet of torque. That's pretty good, honestly, because those numbers are both higher than what Lamborghini rates it at the crank. So I'm not sure exactly what's been done to this car, but it's making really, really good power. What do you guys think about this color? This Christmas-themed Aventador. Not really a big fan. But, I mean, what can I say? Yeah, huge power for a naturally aspirated car. Exactly. Anyway, we got one more. Just a quick video of an Aventador doing some donuts. Just to let you guys see someone actually crashing it. Of course, it's all-wheel drive, so the donuts are going to look like this. But just a fair warning, that is horrible on the all-wheel drive system. And in fact, these cars are very sensitive to their all-wheel drive systems, but we'll talk about that in a second. Oh, shit. What's going on? Warren Cars back again with another car buyer's guide. Kind of. I'm going to go over some prices, but again, these cars are super expensive, and like, you know, the price differences are all over the place, so my estimates aren't going to be the most accurate, but whatever. Well, we're going to mainly focus on what the Aventador is and the options, and then we're going to just see what's on the market and try to price it out that way. But first and foremost, some quick announcements. If you haven't joined my Discord already, hit that link in the description and join my Discord. Everyone who joins my Discord is eligible to win $50. I usually do a giveaway every couple weeks, so we just had one last Friday. Shout out to Claro, who actually runs the Discord. He won it last Friday, and I didn't plan that, y'all. That's just how it turned out. If you watch the show, you'll see that I put all the names on a wheel, and I made them randomized it a bunch of times, and then, you know, Claro happened to win. So congrats to Claro. Yeah, shout out to him again for running this Discord. Yeah, so to be eligible to win the $50, all you have to do is join the Discord first and foremost. Then you have to like and comment on any video on the channel, as well as subscribing to the channel. And then finally sharing a video with somebody, either a video, like a YouTube video, or sharing a reel. I have reels on my Instagram. I haven't made reels in a while, but I'm going to get back on it. It's been kind of hard. Those reels take like an hour and a half each. And so it's like, that time is always squeezed into the end of the day, and I sometimes don't have time to do it, but I'll be getting back on it soon. Yeah, so basically join the Discord, and then you'll be eligible to win some money. It's free money, and it doesn't cost anything to join the Discord. It's not like a paid group or anything. Yeah, it's just where we talk about cars and whatnot. So let's get into the show. So what is the Lamborghini Aventador? It's Lamborghini's flagship V12 mid-engine car. I mean, most Lamborghinis are mid-engine. They made front-engine cars way back in the day, but in terms of what they're known for nowadays, it's going to be their mid-engine V12 cars, along with their mid-engine V10 cars, but those started recently with the Gallardo in the early 2000s. The Lamborghini Aventador succeeds the Murcielago, however you want to pronounce it. You know, that went from the early 2000s up to 2010, like 2002 to 2010. Hey, shout out to Jacob Black for the donation, man. I appreciate that, man, because, you know, this takes a lot of time to do, and I mean, I don't expect anything from it, but it always makes me happy when people recognize the effort. So this car made from 2012 to around 2022, so a 10-year model range for this car. What's special about the Aventador is that it's the first Lamborghini V12 to use a new V12 engine. What do I mean by that? So back in the 60s, when Lamborghini first invented their V12, it was invented by a guy named Bizzarini. And so it's called the Bizzarini V12. That went from the 350 GT, which is an old Lamborghini. It was a front-engined Lamborghini. Wait, I believe? Yeah, let's look it up. 350 GT. Hold on. 350 GT Lamborghini. Yep. You can see here, this was the original V12, Bizzarini V12 car. As you can see, very interesting styling. But again, these are super rare, super expensive now. I know for a while people they didn't even want to buy them, but as you know, as things go, when people start to get a feel for a car or a company and its history and legacy, they start to buy up every single model. That's what you saw with Porsche in the last like 5 or 6 years. But yeah, same thing with Lamborghini, except on a way higher scale. This had the original Bizzarini V12, which was a 3.5 liter. And then the final edition of the Bizzarini V12 was a 6.5 liter in the Lamborghini Murcielago SV. And so Lamborghini invented a whole new V12, same displacement, 6.5 liter, but just newer technology. And for the base Aventador, it actually makes more power than the top of the line Mercy. So they increased the headroom in terms of, you know, the potential power with this new power plant. And that's why they did it. I was trying to figure out why exactly they did it. I think they just reached the mechanical limits of the Bizzarini engine and they wanted something else. Again, what makes this car special is not only is it the first Lamborghini with this new V12, but it's also the last Lamborghini V12 to be naturally aspirated. So this sits in a weird spot where it's a new engine, but still naturally aspirated. Everything moving forward, the Revuelto that's coming out now is hybridized. So that reason alone is why I believe the Aventador is going to go down in history as one of the greatest supercars ever made. Cool. So that being said, let's get into the features, options, and problems. I still did the features, options, and problems for you guys today, but there's going to be a lot more lore, I guess. I'm going to be talking more about, you know, the ins and outs of the Mercy, not just the buyer's guide, but about the car as a whole. I have to bold some stuff real quick. Bold, all-wheel drive. Just models based on Aventador, bold. Different Aventador models, bold. Where is that at? Bold. Actually, let's make this a little bit smaller so it can fit in here. I got a ton of info for you guys today. And then, yeah, okay, cool. So we got a ton of info. Let's get to it. So Lamborghini Aventador. I didn't put the years in, but I should have. Basically, 2012 to 2022 is what it's at right now. With 2012 to, we'll get into the years. So what it uses is the 6.5 liter L539 naturally aspirated V12. This is the second generation Lambo V12, as I mentioned before. The first generation was the Bizzarini. From the 350 GT to the Mercy, 3.5 liters, 6.5 liters in terms of displacement. The most powerful first-gen Mercy is the LP670 SV with 661 horsepower and 487 pound-feet of torque. The first-generation Aventador, the base model, LP700, makes 690 horsepower and 509 pound-feet of torque. So as you can see, about 30 more horsepower and around 20 pound-feet of torque more. So just a little bit of an upgrade. However, this is the base model compared with the SV. The most powerful application of the L539 found in the Aventador is in the Lamborghini Essenza SCV12, making 819 horsepower and 614 pound-feet of torque, which is insane. And then you have the second gen engine, is also found in the Revuelto, as I mentioned before. However, it is paired with a hybrid motor. This car uses a 7-speed Graziano ISR automated manual. So what is that? It's a single clutch transmission. A lot of people hate single clutch transmissions. Some cars that use a single clutch, the Ferrari F1 system, the Aston Martin, the automatic Aston Martins from the mid 2000s or early teens as well, that also uses a single clutch. The SMG found in BMWs from like 2003-ish to 2010 was also a single clutch transmission. The R-tronic transmission found in the early R8s. Same thing as this. Same thing with the E-gear in the Gallardo. It is a 7-speed Graciano ISR automated manual transmission. The Aventador is a little bit different though. It has a really fast shift time of 50 milliseconds, which is insane for a single clutch. That is comparable to dual clutch times. And so why did they go with the single clutch? Well, I guess this shift time thing was kind of out of order. But why did they go with the single clutch? Well, it was developed during the financial crisis, so they figured they might as well just improve on the E-gear and make a new system for an E-gear that would be better, but still not completely starting from scratch with a dual clutch. Also, the DCTs of the era weren't as strong as they are today. In fact, DCTs really never got that strong. That is why on modern cars, you see them going away from DCT and back to traditional automatic transmissions, because they can't really handle that much power, and there's a lot more maintenance and reliability issues with DCTs. There's a lot more moving parts. And so what makes the 7-speed in the Aventador different than other single clutch transmissions? Well, it is a 2-shaft transmission, not to be confused with a dual clutch, having 2 different shafts in a dual clutch and 2 different clutches. The single clutch transmission in the Aventador still has 2 shafts, and so it allows gear shifts to happen simultaneously. So basically, while one rod is disengaging, the other one is engaging. It can either do it at the same time, so it's shifting left to right, both rods at the same time, so it transitions seamlessly, or it can shift out of one and into the other, so it is actually kind of like a hybrid between a single clutch and a dual clutch, because it can do both, which is pretty interesting. In fact, I have a video to show you guys detailing the transmission. And I think this is a pretty good all right, let's mute that. So we can see here is the Graciano transmission, the 7-speed ISR independent shift rod. That's what ISR means. So off the bat, we can see 2 shift rods right here. Let's see. So as this builds, this is what we're looking at. These are the 2 shift rods. And so this isn't the normal gear shifting. This is where it selects one, deselects, and selects the other, like a traditional single clutch transmission. We can see this one is deselecting, and then this one selects, deselecting. Yep. And then here we go is a speed shift. So this is when you're in higher RPMs. You can see how they both shift at the same time. So that limits the amount of time, only 50 milliseconds. So that kind of gave a good illustration of how that works. The goal is to obtain the world's most emotional gear shift. That's one thing that I love about the Aventador is it's a true supercar in the sense that you have to actually try to drive it. Back in the day, supercars were known to be extremely difficult to drive and live with, and that's what made the allure so great for them. It was like you were almost like a superhero if you're able to drive it well. Nowadays, with the dual clutch cars, for example, I'll just throw it out there, the Huracan and the R8 dual clutch cars, they are supercars in their power numbers and their looks, but in terms of drivability, you can daily drive those cars. They're reliable. The transmissions are easy to live with. You can see out of them better than this car, better than most supercars. So a lot of people think that, a lot of people think that, a supercar is just, the looks and performance, and that's kind of where we're going at today. But in my opinion, a supercar takes skill to drive, and that is why I applaud the Aventador for using the single clutch transmission, because it actually makes the driver more engaged with the car. You actually have to learn how it shifts, and you also have to, get used to the different shift speeds. The thing about a dual clutch transmission is that the slower you're going or the less RPMs there are, it's going to shift slower. It only shifts at 50 milliseconds when you're full throttle. And so a lot of people don't understand that. With a dual clutch, it's pretty much the same shift time no matter what RPMs you're at. But with the single clutch, the faster you're going, the faster the engine is spinning, the faster your gear changes will be. Let's see. So Jacob says, so is the dual clutch like in the Ferrari and Maserati worse? And so basically, I would say that the dual clutches are a lot better in terms of reliability, a lot better in terms of being able to just hop in any random car and drive it off the bat and not have to learn it. But I'd say that takes away some of the character and feel of the car. We can see here also another thing that makes the Aventador unique. Most mid-engine cars have the engine actually in the middle with the transmission hanging off the back. The Aventador, I can't think of any other car that's organized in this way where the engine actually sits behind the transmission. The transmission actually sits in between the driver and the passenger. So that's what you see right here. And then you also see it has the main drive shaft going actually to the front wheels, which is interesting. So the drive shaft that's in line with the engine itself is actually powering the front wheels with an auxiliary shaft going to the rear, which is pretty interesting. Most cars are set up the opposite way where the main shaft goes to the rear with an auxiliary shaft going to the front diff. However, it's been this way since forever for mid-engine V12 Lambos. Not the Miura, obviously, because that was a transversely mounted engine. If you didn't know, the Miura's engine is laid out side to side, so it's like super wide in the middle. After the Miura, the Countach, and up to the Revuelto. The Revuelto has a different transmission design than this one. So the Miura or the Countach up until the Aventador all were laid out in this way, which is very strange. The one thing that this leads to in terms of an inconvenience, I guess you could say, is that this severely limits the interior cabin space because it sits in the cabin with the people. You actually have to account for that space. If you've ever been in a McLaren, McLaren's a good example. You basically sit shoulder to shoulder with your passenger because everything is located behind you. In the Lamborghini, you'll find that the center consoles are very wide. So, this also leads to the fact, we'll look at some, actually, let's just show you guys right now. So we have this is a die-cast model someone made, but I think it's a good illustration of the whole power plant. You can see it here. See, this is the transmission, this is the engine, this is actually the front of the car, and this is going towards the rear. So the front is here, this is where the two drivers are sitting. Let's actually mute this before I get copyrighted. Another interesting thing, what you can see, you can barely see it, but the engine is not centered in the rear of the car. If you ever look at pictures of an Aventador or you've seen one in real life, you'll notice that the cross bracing, the X doesn't intersect with the middle of the engine, which is really annoying for people with OCD and whatnot. But there is a reason behind that. It's because of this drive shaft. See how it's over to the right a little bit? This is the center line. The drive shaft is over to the right. So the engine is actually placed a little bit to the left so that it offsets the weight of the drive shaft. So just a cool little, piece of trivia there. Let's see. It's a really cool model. As you can see how big this back box is, that's another reason why the Aventadors, in my opinion, they don't sound that great. This exhaust is huge. So, just getting an aftermarket exhaust does so much for these cars. As you can see, the exhaust pipes are grouped by threes. But yeah, this is the transmission, as you can see, and then the engine right here. The Lamborghini Revuelto, the next, the successor to the Aventador, has a traditional transmission setup simply because of the hybrid system and everything like that. The engine is actually more closer to the firewall. Well, I guess this one's pretty close because the firewall is right here, but the transmission is actually located behind the engine, similar to a Huracan, similar to a Gallardo. Actually, I don't know about the Gallardo. The Gallardo definitely had the transmission behind it. So pretty cool model here. I also want to show you guys the actual carbon monocoque chassis for this car. So this is an example. It's in a museum somewhere, in the Lamborghini Museum. Here you can see how the engine is not completely centered. There's some parallax here, so it doesn't look like it, but it is not centered. You can see that's the firing order. You can also see the push rod suspension. This car has push rod suspension front and rear, which is amazing. This is like race car technology. So what push rod suspension is that it allows basically for the wheels to be much closer to the body. And so you don't have as much of, places where turbulence can get built up, I guess you could say. And also it moves the weight closer to the center of the car. It also is a good packaging system. As you can see, you don't have to have a complicated coil and spring vertically here. It is located towards the middle of the car. The same thing with the front of the car as well. You can see the big exhaust box down there. This car is a carbon monocoque chassis with aluminum frames on the front and rear. So not completely carbon, but one of the first monocoque chassis cars. Yeah, exactly. F1 technology. You can see the transmission sits down here. And then in the front, even though it is an all-wheel drive car, you have a very big trunk, or frunk as I guess you would call it. But as you can see, the push rod suspension up front as well. Amazing technology in this car. I don't know what other car really has push rod suspension that's in this kind of price and this price range. Here, I got a video for you, Jacob. You wanted to see a tall person or an old person and a tall person getting in the car, so I got you. Here we got a tall person trying to get out, or an old person trying to get out. This one says, when you buy a Ferrari after retirement, even though this isn't a Ferrari. So yeah, don't wait until you're 50 or 60 to get one of these, y'all. If you want to get one, hopefully you're under 40. Or else you'll be looking like this guy trying to get out of his SVJ. And then we got a tall guy getting in this. This guy is 6'6".
Just kind of like fall on in.
Oh, moment of truth. Jeez.
Shout out to the Strad, man.
Get those feet in.
Dude. It's sick being right here. I tell you what. Oh, you know what?
So once you're in, you actually don't have, you have a good amount of
I think we
space.
got room for days.
It's not a Ferrari or a
Wait,
McLaren
Dad's
by
in.
any means, but
Oh yeah,
it has
a
way more
tilting steering
space
wheel.
than the
We're living in
Huracan.
2012
Oh,
right now.
yeah. Oh, my
No
goodness.
way.
But you know what's interesting? Look how much visibility you have from the top of the wheel to the roof line. It's like this big. You're looking through a slot like this big. That's what I'm talking about. This roof line, it comes down way farther than a traditional car. So keep that in mind if
You
you're
have
looking
plenty
for a
of
coupe.
room.
I have more room than I did in the GT3.
Wait, for the new viewers, the new subs, how tall are you and how much do you weigh?
6'6", 267, 65. I was down to 263, but then I
How's anyways?
excited right now. And
So look how he's sitting. He's sitting forward a little bit, and his head is half an inch from the ceiling. So keep that in mind if you're taller. These cars, they're supercars. Most tall people don't fit in supercars in general, and this one's no exception.
I'm so glad that we made that arrangement that if I fit, I get to take it because
Wait, I'm not actually gonna let you drive it.
that's what you said. So if you'd be so kind.
That's another thing I love about these cars is the starter sound. One of the best starting sounds ever. In fact, let's listen to a starter sound again. I just want to hear it. It's just like such a electrified sound. Most starters you can hear each revolution, but since the V12 is so big on these Lamborghinis, you have to have a really strong starter, and that's why it sounds like that. Cool. So back to this. So what makes this we already talked about why the transmission is unique. It has a 2-shaft system, the ISR. It has carbon synchros. Again, most people found that the car is hard to drive at slow speeds. That's just how a single clutch transmission is. In fact, when you're coming off from a roll or from a stop and you're rolling the car, you have to actually give it some gas in order for the clutches to know to engage. So there is kind of a little bit of a delay from when you hit the gas to when it actually starts moving. That's mainly what people have a problem with. It's like stop and go city driving is when this car isn't at its best. But again, this is a V12 Lamborghini. It's not meant to be driven around at slow speeds, even though that is really what these cars are used for, is for flexing. They're the ultimate flex car. This car has an all-wheel drive system developed by Haldex Traction. So if you're familiar with Haldex, they make great all-wheel drive systems. This car has one. Again, it has a carbon fiber monocoque chassis with front and rear aluminum frames, push rod front and rear suspension, and it comes standard with carbon ceramic brakes. They also come standard with a front lift, which is very useful because this car is super low. So there are other models actually that are based on the Aventador. There are actually a bunch. So we have the Veneno, we have the Centenario, we have the Cian, we have the Ascenza, and the Countach, the new Countach. Yeah, where's Clean Whips? Clean Whips, get your ass in here. Anyway, so we're going to now go over the different Aventador models because there's a lot of models for the Aventador. Not only do they have these models based on the Aventador, but in terms of trim levels for the Aventador itself, there are a good amount of models. First off, we're going to start. I tried, y'all. I tried to make this smooth. Oh my God. All right, cool. So we're going to start off with the base. The base model is the LP 700-4. It makes 700 horsepower and 509 pound-feet of torque. So as you can see here, I mean, it's 700 horsepower. It's actually 690, but 700 is the horsepower, 690 brake horsepower. And then you have the LP720, not really a true Lamborghini trim level. However, it was a limited edition with its own power figure, so I decided to put it in with the rest of the models. This makes 710 horsepower, same amount of torque, 509 pound-feet of torque. Again, this was a special edition limited to 200 units. It featured enlarged front intakes and matte front and rear sills. Then you have the Aventador S. This made 730 horsepower, same amount of torque, 509 pound-feet of torque. This featured four-wheel steering, the LDVA drive modes. So this was debuted with the S. Before, there were only 3 drive modes, and the LDVA drive modes increased that. They also, they also made custom drive modes as well. Before, it was just the drive modes that came with the car. You also have a redesigned nose and diffuser, 3 exhaust tips instead of 4, and 130% more downforce than the base. Next, you have the Aventador SV. 740 horsepower, 509 pound-feet of torque. Downforce was increased by 180% when compared to the base. It features a fixed rear wing, and it's limited to 1,100 units, which is interesting because a lot of people actually think that the SV is in lower production than the SVJ, and that was like a rumor that went around for a while. However, when you really look into it, the SV has 600 coupes and 500 spiders, so that makes 1,100 units. And then finally for the SVJ, it makes 759 horsepower and 531 pound-feet of torque. So they increased the torque for the SVJ, only 900 units. So it is rarer than the SV. A lot of people thought the SV was rare. It is not. I thought it was too. I was one of those people that thought the SV was rare. However, you'll see a lot more SVJs for sale than the SV. So just think about it that way. So what the SVJ is a redesigned front and rear fascia. It has the ALA system, which is it's a dynamic downforce system. 40% more downforce than the SV, and the SV is 180% more than the base. So ton of downforce for the SVJ. And then finally, the Aventador Ultimate. This is going to be the last version of the Aventador, making 769 horsepower and 531 pound-feet of torque. And it features the standard features of the S and the SVJ. So what's the SV meaning? It means super veloce. And then SVJ means super veloce Jota. And then the Ultimate, basically what the Ultimate is, it's a combination of the S and the SVJ. So it really takes the SVJ specs and makes it a more road-going version. Also more power. So in terms of model years, 2012 to 2014 is going to be the first generation. This is going to be the LP700 only. In 2014, they introduced the LP700 Roadster. In 2015 to 2017, this is when the LP700 had its Gen 2. And so not really many visual changes with the Gen 2 Aventador. Just know that it's a lot more reliable. We'll get into the problems in a second. The SV came in 2016 with the SV Roadster in 2017. In 2017, they introduced the Aventador S in both coupe and roadster. And in 2019, they introduced the SVJ with the Roadster coming in 2020. And then finally in 2022, or in 2021 and 2022 really, but really only 2022 for the US model years, the Aventador Ultimate was introduced and cut from production. So base model goes 0 to 60 in 2.9 seconds with a top speed of 217 miles per hour. The weights for the base model is around 4,000 pounds with fluids. So fully loaded, 4,000 pounds. This car is not a light car. It's a very heavy car, and a lot of people fail to realize that the Aventador is very heavy, and it's not like the best car in terms of agility, and that's why a lot of people don't race these cars or not really used for anything other than flexing because of their weight. The SVJ is a little bit lighter at 3,900 pounds with fluids. The SV is the lightest at 3,900 pounds with fluids. The SVJ is slightly heavier, but the SV is technically the lightest. And the car, the Aventador, had 11,832 units produced. Shout out to Crackalope in the chat. What is going on, man? Jacob said, SV is familiar and literally translate as very fast, but the Yoda element has historical significance, and the only other graced 2 cars previously, the Mirror P400 Yoda and the Diablo SE30 Yoda. Exactly. So the Yoda, I mean, I'd say the Diablo SE30 Yoda is a lot more desirable and collectible than SVJ. We'll see if that really pans out in the future. The SVJ prices were insane for a while, $1.2 million, but you see them as low as $700,000 now. I know, for example, my my man's Fresh had an SVJ, from the Fresh and Fit podcast. He bought it for over $1 million. He ended up selling it. He took like a $500K loss on that car, which is insane. And I feel bad for him. But now he has an SV, so I guess he's happy. The SV is a better car in my opinion. It looks better. So yeah, let's talk about the looks of each Actually, I want to get into the looks. Let's talk about the looks. So we'll just bring up the Wikipedia page here so you guys can see. So here we have the base Aventador. This is what the base Aventador looks like. This is how the bumper design looks. In my opinion, the base Aventador is the best looking Aventador. I don't care what people say. The SV looks okay, but I'm not really a fan of the rear section of it. The SVJ doesn't look that great to me at all. The part that I love about the Lamborghini Aventador is this front fascia. Basically, this part right here, it's all angular. The SV has some of this stuff too, which is why I think the SV looks good. But the rear is just a little bit too cluttered for me. I can see this is a roadster version. This is also a base car. This is going to be the SV. You can see it has the angular front end. Did they show the rear of the SV? But the rear of the SV, I mean, it looks cool, I guess, but it has a little bit too much going on for my personal taste. However, the SV is obviously going to be my favorite model of the car. Here we have an Aventador S. As you can see, they smoothed out the front. You don't see as many jagged lines in the front. They also improved, well, not improved, but changed the lower fascia, as well as adding some vents on the side right here. This is going to be the rear of the S. You can see it has 3 exhaust ports instead of 4. The base model and the SV have 4 exhaust ports. The S has 3. It's going to be an S Roadster, as we can see here. So the Countach, when I said Countach earlier, I'm talking about the new Countach. So basically, they made a redesigned Aventador and made an homage model to the Countach. Hopefully, they'll show you. We'll see some in a second. Here we have an SVJ. As you can see, they completely smoothed out the front end. They gave it some nostrils. They gave it a big 3-post rear wing. They also made these side vents a lot bigger. So SVJ is by far the most aggressive looking out of the bunch. But when you think about it, like say, take the Lamborghini Countach into consideration. You have the original Countach, which is very simple. And then you have like the 25th anniversary Countaches, which look insane when compared to the original. I'm following the same philosophy with the Aventadors. I like the original. I like how it was when it first came out. They started just adding all this crazy stuff as the years went on. And, younger people, more like boy racer types, are going to like this. Obviously, it appeals to the mass market. But in terms of classiness and simplicity of design, the base LP700 is going to be my favorite. Here we have an Ultimate. You can see it looks like an S, except it has improved internals. So basically, it looks like an S, but it has SVJ drivetrain. Here we have the Lamborghini LP something J. It's just a concept car without a windshield. Here we have an Anniversario. So this is going to be the 50th anniversary car. We can see it has the front clip of the front top clip of the Aventador base, the LP700. However, they added this special stuff as well as making it in a black color. They show the rear. Nope. Here we have the Pirelli edition. Here we have the Aventador SVJ 63. They only made 63 of these. Here we have a Veneno, which it looks pretty crazy. These headlights are insane to me. Here we have a Centenario. And then here we have an SC18 Alston, which I've never actually seen. This was the first time I've ever seen one of these. And then we have a Scion right here. And then we have the Essenza SC V12. This right here, Jacob, is what I was talking about. This is going to be your Countach. So this is the new Countach based on the Aventador, but they made a limited production run of the Aventador with a different body style. Same internals though. These cars are super expensive. The Countaches regularly go from $2 to $3 million. So insane, 10 times the price of a base Aventador. Jacob says, how street bumps are in the US, the ones are too slow. The ones too slow down traffic. Speed bumps in the US are insane. I've seen them as big as this and as little as this, like little bumps that are super annoying to go over because it literally feels like you're driving over a curb. And then you have ones that are like huge, but they're big and round. Those ones, you'd bottom out on if you had a car like this. However, the Aventador comes standard with front lift. So, that takes care of most of those issues. Here we can see that monocoque rolling chassis that we looked at earlier. But as you can see, tons of different ways the Aventador comes. Cool, let's get on to the problems. I'm not gonna, waste much time with the problems. There aren't really any problems with this car that, to speak of. Honestly, there are some, but not much to really get into. So in terms of problems, they mainly deal with the model years. So 2010, or this should be 2012. 2012 to 2014 is going to be the first batch of Aventadors. That is going to be your Gen 1 Aventador. That's going to have the most problems, mainly around the transmission. A lot of people had issues with the ISR system. Sometimes it wouldn't shift between gears, or it gets stuck in a gear, like it couldn't leave gears. So again, that is with the ISR system, the independent shift rods. Something is up with the programming and the computerization of the way it works, and it gets stuck sometimes. You can get the 2013 and 2014 models upgraded to match the computer software of the latest models, the 2015 and up. However, with the 2012, it actually used a different TCU, so it is harder to tune. You can't get it to as smooth as a 2013 and 2014 model. You can check the VIN to see if the gearbox has been reprogrammed. Again, the 2012 models are exempt from this complete reprogram. You can do a little bit of tuning with the 2012 transmissions, but they won't be nearly as good as every other model year, so keep that in mind. You also have a gear oil leak. This is another issue with the transmissions. It doesn't matter what year. Basically, the gear oil can leak out. It's due to these seals, the transmission seals that aren't very good. And so basically, if they start to leak, you can have transmission issues. The clutch can last anywhere from 12K miles to 35K miles. Huge range for these cars. Just keep that in mind. It all depends on how the car was driven. If you had a rental Lamborghini Aventador, it probably will last 10,000 miles. People are like flooring it from the lights. They don't really know how. Everyone's getting used to the car. Everyone who hops in the car to drive it just spends a good amount of time to get used to the car, and that takes away clutch life. So keep that in mind. Also, the carbon ceramic brakes, just look for delamination. Regular steel brakes, they start to develop an edge around the perimeter of the brake rotor. When they start to be worn down. With ceramics, they don't develop an edge. They just start to look a little bit less shiny and more rough. So that's what's called delamination. Jacob said, who's the manufacturer of the gearbox? ZF can't be right. Yeah, it's not a ZF gearbox. It's actually a Graziano gearbox. So Graziano, they make gearboxes for Italian cars. Again, E-gears are all Graziano. Actually, here, let's bring up that Wikipedia one more time because I know they had some information about the Graziano. Let's see. Graziano. Let's click on that. Hold on. 7-speed. Where is the thing at? I literally just had the. Here we go. So they make. It was the same page. They make transmissions for McLaren, Ferrari, Lamborghini, Audi, Maserati, Alfa Romeo, Aston Martin, and some AMG models. So they make a ton of different cars. Competitors include ZF, Getrag, and Borg Warner. So again, yeah, it's a competitor for ZF. Another thing you're going to run into these cars, it really doesn't matter if you fix it or not. It's always going to come back is door squeak, just the way the doors are made, the way the hinge works, the way the, the strut for the doors, it squeaks eventually. And so that's, could be an issue if you want something of the highest quality. But again, I hate to let you guys know this, but it is a Lamborghini. It's not going to be a Toyota, okay? I get it. The new Lamborghinis are pretty reliable, but they still are made in Italy by Italian people. It's not going to be the most well-built car, even though they are probably one of the more well-built supercars. You also have the starter solenoid failure. So this comes from heat soak, mainly from the first generation cars. So basically what will happen is you're driving your car around all day. You park it at like a restaurant. You maybe grab a bite to eat. You come back out and it won't start at all. This could, maybe not a restaurant because you let it sit for a while, but say you ran into a 7-Eleven or something, came back out. Maybe it won't start. This could be due to heat soak. And so, the only way to really fix this is either get a new starter. Well, not new starter, but you have to re-grease the solenoid that pushes the starter gear out onto the flywheel, re-grease that, or get a new starter. And then finally, suspension knocks, particularly the front suspension control arms and bushings tend to go prematurely. So just keep that in mind when you're driving these around. If you ever drive one around, just take a listen to the suspension, get a feel for how it feels through the steering wheel and everything. It shouldn't be like overly rough or like jarring, if that makes sense. Jacob says, so where's the cut between Audi and Italian car? So basically the cut happened with the development of the Gallardo. This is an Audi car. Technically, it is an Audi car because it was made in 2012. Audi started working with Lamborghini in the early 2000s. Actually, the Murcielago is actually the first Audi car. Now that I think about it, Audi car, even though they don't want to say it is an Audi car. But I guess the real true Audi car would be a Gallardo because it used that V10, and that V10 was well, they used two different V10s, but the later V10 was shared with Audi car, so that's definitely an Audi car. This is definitely an Audi car, but still, it is a Lamborghini Aventador, so they didn't want it to make, like, they didn't want to make it completely German. You know, it's the flagship. It still has to have some air of being from Italy. Cool. All right, so in terms of options, this is the best part. Tons of different options for these cars. Yeah, let's get this over here. And then we'll also look at a brochure as well. So we just got a whole bunch of stuff here. I'm just going to go down the list. So first, you're going to pick your trim level, obviously. So we're going to differentiate, you know, between base, S, SVJ, SV, Ultimate, Anniversary Edition, whatever you want. First, pick your trim level. Then you want to pick whether you want a Roadster or coupe. I went over this before, but Roadsters are going to be cheaper. Coupes, they made about 3 times as many Roadsters, or 3 times as many coupes as Roadsters, like a 3-to-1 ratio. So keep that in mind. The Roadsters are going to go for a little bit more. I like the Roadsters. They allow you to have much more of a better supercar experience. You can hear the engine better. You also can have the roof or that window down when you're driving. So you have like kind of an open air experience with the roof up. The only thing I don't like about the Roadster is the engine cover. It looks okay. It looks pretty alien. It looks pretty unique. However, I just wish that it was open. I don't know why. You see that there's a painted section in the middle, so it's really technically 2 windows. It's like a split window design. And I wish it was just one big window, but that's just little things there. Then you can pick the color. They have basic paints, metallic paints, solid paints, pearl effect paints, and matte paints. So ton of different paint options. We're going to look at a brochure in a second so I can show you guys some examples of paint. You also have your wheel choice. You have the, let's see. I don't know how to pronounce this, but I'm going to give it a try. Iperioni and Dioni. That's my Italian for you. So 2 different styles of wheels. We're going to look at those as well. Then you have your caliper color. You can pick whatever color. Rear suspension color as well. At first, it was only black or yellow springs. However, as the years went on, you can get all different color springs. You also have the option for the transparent engine cover. You could either get a plastic engine cover or a glass cover. Most cars you're going to see with the glass cover simply because it's a Lamborghini. Like, you want to see the engine. And then you have your carbon exterior options. So these are going to be your carbon engine cover. This is going to be that T cover in the middle of the V is going to be in carbon or in plastic. You can also have the carbon cross brace, so that X cross brace can either be in metal or in carbon. The rear diffuser, either in plastic or in carbon. And same thing with the front vents. You can see that right here, as well as the front splitter in carbon or in black plastic. Next, moving on to the interior, you have your interior color combination designations. You have unicolor. You have unicolor with contrast stitching. You have bicolor sportivo. You also have bicolor Alcantara sportivo. So what these are going to be is unicolor is just all one color. Unicolor with contrast stitching, of course, it's going to be all one color, but the stitching color you can change. Bicolor Sportivo is going to be a leather dual tone interior. Bicolor Sportivo Alcantara is going to be a 2-tone Alcantara interior. And then you have your bicolor Elegante, which is going to be an all leather interior. Different from unicolor because the Elegante have different. Unicolor was either like black or brown. Elegante, you could have a whole bunch of different leather colors. You also have the option for Q Citura stitching, which is going to be the diamond stitching. Very, very desirable option on these cars. If you don't get it, your car kind of looks basic, in my opinion. You also have these steering wheel options. You can either have a smooth leather steering wheel, a suede steering wheel, or a perforated leather steering wheel. Most of the steering wheels you're going to see are going to be in perforated leather. I do like the suede steering wheels, but suede, of course, you know, the longevity of suede isn't really that high. And with miles, the suede steering wheel gets kind of gross after a while. So keep that in mind. You also have the branding package. This came with the Lambo crest on the headrest as well as the chrome Lambo logo on the dashboard. 90% of cars have these because, like, if you don't have the Lambo on the headrest or on the dashboard, like, what are you doing? Seat details in carbon fiber. So this includes the back of the headrest as well as the side seat covers. And then you have your interior carbon fiber package. This includes the instrument scoop, so the surround around the gauges, the TFT screen frame, the center console cover, and the MMI frame. door handles, and exterior kick plates. All these pieces are in carbon if you get the interior carbon fiber package. Highly desirable. However, if I were to say between the two, exterior carbon or interior carbon, I'd say get exterior carbon because those pieces are way more expensive and way harder to come by. The interior carbon, you can always change those pieces out later, whether it be aftermarket or with a stock piece. They're easier to find than the exterior carbon parts, especially the engine covers and the engine surround. Yeah, I forgot to list the engine cover as well as the engine surround. So there's two different carbon pieces for the engine. What else? You also have the option for fully electric / heated seats. You'll see some of these cars, if they have the, we'll actually go over the seat options in a minute. So you have really like, actually, I'll just bring it up. I don't want to get ahead of myself. You also have the option for fully electric / heated seats. So we're going to start there. You can either have a standard seat, no fully electric, well, it's like kind of electric and no seat heating, or fully electric and seat heating. Another option that I think is a good one to have is a Sensonum sound system. It's Sensonum premium sound system. The traditional sound system is going to be the Lamborghini sound system. That's what it's called. And the Sensonum is just an upgrade over that. You also have the option for a multi-function steering wheel. The steering wheels look the same. It's just whether or not they have buttons or not. And then finally, parking assistance, which includes a rear camera and front and rear parking sensors. And then HomeLink. So let's take a look at a brochure, see what we're working with in terms of the Aventador. Let's refresh this. So we can see this is one of the best ways the car comes in my opinion. A lot of people don't like this. I mean, it's pretty simple in the way it looks, but this is the poster Lamborghini. This is what I had as my background for years when I was in high school. This exact car, the Roadster in this light blue with the tan interior. It was those Miami pictures. I forget what is it called. It's like a brochure. What do they call a car that's like the poster version of the car? There's a term for that. Anyway, so scrolling down, we can see this is kind of hard to see because it's black. But this is going to be a partially carbon engine bay. You can see the carbon engine bay surround as well as the piece in the middle. However, this cross brace is in metal. We can also see here very clearly how the engine is not centered, so it's pretty cool. Jacob says, what if I hit a speed bump with the exterior in carbon? Then, my friend, you're out of luck, and it's going to be super expensive to fix. Super, super expensive to fix. That is why carbon fiber is, it's such a high quality option to have on the car, simply because not only is it expensive, but in order to care for it takes more effort. So people want that in terms of resale. Let's see. So we can see here, this is what a standard interior looks like. Let's see. These are going to be your colors, your standard colors. You have basic colors, Nero, Giallo Evros, and Bianco Isis. I'm butchering these names. Then you have Nero Pegaso. I thought that was Pegasus the whole time. Nero Pegaso, Grigio Estoque. Oh, wow. That was the name of the new Lamborghini, the new electric one. Interesting. Grigio Antres, Blue Hera, Azuro Thades. Wow. I think this is that color of the poster. Azuro Thades. One of my favorite colors. I'm really a light blue sucker, honestly. It's like kind of a girly color, but I really like light blue supercars. Anyway, then you have Arancio Argos, Arancio Atlas. Then you have Giallo Orion, Nero Nemesis, Marone Apus, Giallo Horus, and Bianco Canopus. Italian is not my strong suit, if you can tell. Here we have the different wheel options. So you have the Ipironi wheels. These are going to be a 5-spoke wheel like this. And then you have your Dioni wheels, which are going to be like a 10-spoke, kind of like a split 5-spoke design. The Dioni, you can have them in silver, titanium matte, or gloss black. The Ipironi has silver and gloss black. These are going to be your caliper colors: black, silver, red, orange, yellow. And then your suspension colors. This is 2014, so they only had black and yellow. But in later years, you could see them in orange and red, whatever color you want. In terms of the carbon fiber package, we can see here the engine bay trim, the T cover, the front and rear as well in terms of the diffusers. So keep that in mind. Interior design, we can see unicolor comes with black or brown. It's going to have your simple seat design. Then you have your unicolor with contrast stitching. You can have it in all sorts of different colors. Then you have your bicolor Sportivo. So let's read what it has to say. With the optional bicolor Sportivo and bicolor Sportivo Alcantara package, you can choose between leather and Alcantara to enhance your personal realm. You can make these rules when it comes to choosing colors. So which ones? So basically, you can get leather bicolor or Alcantara bicolor with different seat trim options. I'll call them seat trims, but it's really the center of the seat. And then you have bicolor elegante, which has different browns available. Terra Dirce is probably my favorite. It's like a orangish brown. And then you have your material contrast color. You can either have it in like an embossed leather, which is really a perforated leather, or just a smooth leather. So bicolor elegante is probably, or just an elegante interior in general, is probably my favorite because they're the most luxurious, and I'm a sucker for a luxurious supercar. Down here, you can see this is going to be the wheel. Just imagine the multifunction wheel. This is the multifunction wheel. Just imagine the standard wheel without the buttons. The standard wheels is this without the buttons. That's it. But in terms of that pretty much wraps it up. We'll actually look at the SVJ brochure, just, you know, to get a feel for it. They did a whole brochure just for the SVJ in a very different theme than what Lamborghini brochures usually look like. They're usually pretty dark. As you can see, the SVJ comes standard with all the carbon fiber interiors. It also has a full carbon fiber door panel. You can see here, talks about the design and the body kit that it has on it. This is the ALA system. So the high duct rear wings and full carbon integrates with the C pillar. The ALA, the center pillar is going to be this ALA duct. That's what it's called. Let's just scroll through this a little bit more. So yeah, it's just a bunch of scientific data here. Another fun fact is when the SVJ came out, it actually held the record for the Nürburgring. I'm not sure how long it lasted, but it did beat out the GT2 RS, which is pretty impressive considering this car is a pig. You can see here it has a rear steering and everything. The interior, these are going to be the bucket seats. As you can see here, you have the bucket seats and then you have the standard sport seats. The bucket seats are going to be manual and no heating, so keep that in mind. The standard seats are most likely going to be power and heated. And then you can see in the SVJ, it shows you all the different areas. They do material changes, so a bunch of different cool materials in the SVJ. These are going to be all your interior combos, which is cool that they actually have a cool name for each one. Mercurio, Giove, Saturno, Venere, Urano, Marte. I'm trying to pronounce these. I don't know. If anyone's Italian, you guys can let me know. They also have the whole themes name too. So that not only is the interior, but it also comes with the exterior color. So just some cool stuff with the SVJ. I think my favorite is either going to be the silver one with the gold wheels, or there's no blue ones. Maybe this purple one, but I like a silver SVJ. Cool. All right. Well, that goes over that. We can look at the original Aventador one as well. They didn't really put much information on this one. This one was a 2012. You can see they don't even put any options at all. Just some pictures and the technical specs. You definitely need rear cams with this car. Very much necessary. You have this much visibility out of the rear window, and that is mostly like is this high off the ground, basically, what you're looking at. So you're like looking at the top over it, and you're sitting so low and the back is so high that you really have no visibility of like 20 yards behind you on the ground. So you really do need a rear camera. Another weird thing about, the rear camera on these cars is kind of weird. It sits really low and gets really dirty. So that's another thing. Let me see. I think that's it. I think I got through everything I wanted to talk about. Oh yeah, let's take a look at some price trends. We haven't done that on this channel yet. So in terms of price trends, I got the Murcielago price trends. Actually, we'll start off here. So basically, this only shows up to 2020, which doesn't really give us a good perception of the market because 2020 is when everything went crazy. But what you can see here, the overall trend of the Miura. From 2002 to 2020, we can see it's a straight incline, and it probably went like exponentially up for 2020 during the pandemic, and then now it's starting to stabilize and come back down. We can see that as well with the Countach. There were some high-priced ones sold in 2014, but again, we can't see the same thing with the Countach. The Miura has its own special price trend simply because a lot of people, like as you can see, they were trading for $100,000 20 years ago, and now they're $3 million cars. So people caught on with the Miura. It took them a little bit, but I'd say they started to take off around 2020. We can see here $4 million for a Miura. Before then, they were kind of in the $2 to $3 million mark. So after this, you'll see some Miura SVs going above $5 million, which is insane. So keep that in mind. The Miura is the first V12 Lamborghini. And we have the second one. You can see, aside from this peak, it starts to go down, but in 2020, again, the prices went crazy. Here we have the Diablos. We can see the Diablo price trend is pretty low, but kind of the trend is starting to increase. You can see a bigger spread, kind of, but you'll also see, looking on the market today, Diablos are a lot more expensive than they used to be. You could get sub 200K Diablos all day, and now it's really hard to find. Here we have the Mercy prices. These, again, are all over the place because this is before the pandemic. However, LP Mercies, especially their manual, go well over $1 million. So I say all that to say the Aventador is, what, 12 years old at this point, right? We can see the price trends from V12 Lambos. Actually, let me bring up another graph because these ones are kind of hard to read because they stop at 2020. Here we have 2020 and on. So we can see the prices for the Diablo. They went down during the pandemic and then went up to around 300K, where they seem to have topped out. They're starting to go back down in 2024. And then we have the Mercy here. Again, you see a sharp increase in 2020 from the pandemic. They started to go up gradually. And the problem with the Mercy prices is that you have the base Mercies and then you have the LPs, which are, the LPs are twice the price of a base Mercy. So the LPs are definitely going to pull the market up. But in general, the Mercy market has been appreciating. But as you can see, we start to see a decline right here on all fronts for the 2024 model year. And so getting to the Aventador, we can see that the prices kind of went up at the beginning of 2020 and they kind of topped out, but they have been going down at a steady rate since 2022. So what do I say all this for? Following the price trends of the Mercy, you can see that, say the Mercy came out in 2002, right? It stopped at 2010. So this is 10 years after production. You can see a sharp, it's starting to increase, right? 10 years after production. On this graph right here, we can see that, I mean, aside from these outliers here, prices were pretty stable. If not, they were kind of decreasing as time went on because, you know, the cars were getting older. But something happened around 2020. I mean, not only the pandemic, but people started to realize that these cars are in such low production numbers that people, like, you need to have one or else you'll never will, because the prices, you know, will go up from here. So people have been doing that with Mercies. They've been collecting the Mercies. The Mercy prices are steady. And yeah, steady at around, like, what, 300 to 400K, which is pretty insane considering that you could get a base one for under 200K not even 5 years ago. But average price around 320 now. But the Aventador, as we can see, it never really, like, it hasn't gone up significantly in price, and you also see that it's going down in price. So what I think is going to happen with the Aventadors, especially with the release of the Revuelto this year, is that Aventador prices are going to tank. And by tank, I don't mean like go down to like 200K for an average car, but at least a 25% discount in the next couple years. So, you know, keep that in mind. If you want an Aventador, it's going to be the right time pretty soon. Of course, the initial release of the Revuelto is going to cause prices to kind of take a little bit of a dip, but then you're going to see some recovery. The mystery is what happens after the recovery. Does it continue to go down? Is it going to be harder to keep these naturally aspirated old school cars on the road? We don't know. I don't know how litigation is going to be, what people are going to, governments are going to say about cars like that. Because of course, with laws about emissions and whatnot, these types of cars are going to be the first ones to go. But, you know, that being said, these cars are owned by rich people, and rich people love to find loopholes in laws. And so you'll probably not really see that many leave the streets. People will just find different ways in order to keep them on the road. But it's going to be a little bit harder to do so. That being said, I believe that Aventador prices will bottom out in the next year or so. I believe that once they bottom out, though, and once the Revuelto has been out for a while, Aventador prices will go up. You see that with the Mercy, you saw it with the Countach, you saw it with the Diablo, you saw it with the Mira. The price of the Aventador, especially being the last naturally aspirated model, will go up. I predict that in the next decade, there will be close to retail. So around 500K for an Aventador in the next 10 years. So, yeah, that's another reason why I think the Aventador is one of the best supercars of all time, because of the value right now is getting to that point where you really can't buy anything that even gets close to the experience, to the wow factor, the road presence of an Aventador. Let's see. So Jacob talking about how many miles a year. So that's a good question. I'd say, like, on average, I mean, this is kind of a general statement, but on average, they're probably driven like 1,000 to 2,000 miles a year. And so you're going to probably lose Just keep in mind, like with these cars, you're probably going to lose like 4 or 5% every year. So you want to catch it at the bottom of the depreciation. Obviously, they started off high in terms of the numbers, but currently right now it's about 4 to 5% every year. So that's probably around like what, say you buy a Lamborghini Aventador for 300 grand, right? That's on the lower end. 300 grand, 5% of that is going to be 15 grand. So keep that in mind. You're going to lose, but 5%, sorry, I just completely butchered that. 5% of 350 is a lot. It's 350, that's almost, what, 35 is 10%. 350, 35, that's around 17.5. So you're going to lose about 17.5 every year that you own the car. As of right now, of course, when prices start to bottom out, you're going to lose less, but that's what it is right now. So keep that in mind. If you're pricing on Aventador to buy, try to get a good spec car that you can sell for 15 or 20 grand more than you bought it for, because that'll, you know, make up for the difference that you lost in terms of paying your financing up to that point. I didn't say that right. You can make up for the loss in terms of value that way. A lot of people, what they do for these cars, if you're not familiar, they finance them. They get a super long term. It's really hard to do now because interest rates are really high. You used to be able to get like an 84 month, 4% term on a car like this with very little money down. This was pre-pandemic. It's crazy. I know that's unheard of nowadays. So when you think about that, that's around like $5,000 a month, maybe $6,000. And so keep that in mind. Every year you'll be paying, let's see, what is 6,000 times 12? Sorry, got the calculator. 6,000 times 12. So 6,000 times 12. Holy crap. 72 grand. So you're going to be spending 72 grand, right? And you can't think about it losing like you're losing 72 grand. All you're doing is putting that money towards the actual values of the car. And then if you can sell it more than what you got it for, then you can, you know, make up for that difference in terms of running costs, because of course it's not free to run. That was a really horrible way of explaining that. I probably butchered that, but that's what people do. And that's what you should do. If you're buying a supercar, always try to, well, this kind of is more generally speaking. If you want to buy a supercar, don't buy the 60,000 mile first model year supercar. Buy one that is newer, under 10 grand for the Aventador, specifically under 10,000 miles and high spec, because playing in that range is way safer than playing in the low end. The low end, you're able to get in for a lot cheaper. However, the exit, you're probably going to lose money. With the high end cars, you're able to lose nothing. Cool. All right. So yeah, we have another Countach evaluation. We can see up until 2020. This one isn't very accurate in my opinion, but we can see a general price depreciation or decrease until 2020, but then it started to catch up and go back in 2021. As you can see, Aventadors are also depreciating, but this is a little bit different information. Cool. Wow, we spent an hour and 10 minutes talking about the car. We haven't even got to ads, which is insane. Shout out to the people that are in here right now. Like the video if you haven't already. I'm gonna like it myself. Let's see, hit that like button. Yeah, like that video. Everyone in here, hit that like button. Cool. Let's get on to the ads. I'm only using Facebook and AutoTrader today, and as you can see, I got a bunch. I was like, you know what? All the ads are kind of the same on AutoTrader and CarGurus, so I just decided to put them all on AutoTrader and feel like looking at the other site. But yeah, Jacob, yeah, I'm gonna start doing that. I'm gonna do more market analysis because it's good to learn about the price trends of cars as well, because some cars may be good value, but they're on the way down or they're on the way up. Like, it's hard to tell. So just keep that in mind. I'll definitely include price trends in the later videos. So moving on to our first ad. Oh, man, these aren't even loaded. All right, well, quick intermission while these all load. So we have our first example. This is going to be one of the cheaper examples. This is a 2012, so it's a first model year. One of the ones to avoid. However, you know, if you can find one for a good deal and you really, really, really want an Aventador, you know, I'm not going to knock you getting a 2012. Who is? Like, only people that have way more money than you. It doesn't really matter at that point. This one is going to be a matte black car with the Imperioni wheels, orange calipers. We can see here. I'm trying to see the carbon. No carbon on the front. We have a plastic front diffuser. We have what looks like forged carbon mirrors, which is pretty cool. Definitely an aftermarket option. This one's in Largo. Where's that? Largo, Florida. Okay. Interior, we have no carbon fiber. We do have the perforated leather steering wheel. and we do have the silver trim. Another thing with these Aventadors is that, well, the Lamborghinis in general, for me at least, I hate silver trim. That's how you know that it has no interior packages. If you see the silver center console, if you see the silver door handles. So keep that in mind. Silver steering wheel as well. You don't want a silver interior car, but again, that's just me. All Aventadors are cool. Most Aventadors are going to have silver interiors, so keep that in mind. This one, as you can also see, has the base seats. No seat heating, and they're not fully electric, just semi-electric. You can see here, we can't really see the seat controls, but they are semi-electric, not fully electric. Wing up, you have a little wing on top of the wing, as you can see. Carbon fiber, both wings. Does it show? Well, it has some color contrast piping, which is interesting. But it does not show the engine bay, which is unfortunate. This one being a 2012, having 24,000 miles. So I'd suggest staying in the range of 10 to 20,000 miles if you want to get the most amount for your money. You don't want to go over 20,000 miles because that is when the cars start to depreciate a little bit heavier. You don't want to go under 10,000 miles simply because you're going to be paying a lot of money. So 10 to 20,000 miles. This one's a little bit out of the threshold, but it still is a good contender in terms of price. 268 grand for this one, 24,000 miles. Again, this is a 2012, so it's going to be the cheapest example. For me, I'd be around the $250,000 mark for this one, simply because it has no packages. I don't see any carbon at all in this car, besides the forged carbon mirrors, but those are aftermarket, as well as the aftermarket spoiler here. No exterior carbon, no interior carbon, just a base first model year Aventador. Yeah, this one looks good. I'm not going to lie, but, you know, there are way better ones. We have a ton of ads to go. Wow, I'm going to be here for 2 hours, it looks like. Anyway, oh, none of these ads wanted to load. So that's the problem with Google Chrome, as you can see. Well, I don't know what to tell you guys. These don't want to load, and I'm out of luck. Here, let's just exit out of the ads that already loaded up. All right, cool. So here we have a yellow example. If it wants to load. Yeah, give it a coffee break. Too many ads. Too many ads. All right, we have our next example. This one is also high miles, but it's also a 2012. This one's in yellow. I really, really like this yellow. It looks like the sun. It's like very metallic-y, very rich yellow. On the Iperioni wheels, we can see the front does not have carbon fiber. The interior is going to be the unicolor with the color matching stitching. We can also see the carbon fiber engine cover. This middle part right here isn't carbon fiber. However, the rest of the engine bay is not. We do not have a carbon engine surround. We do not have the carbon cross brace. Interior has a weird carbon fiber piece. Usually the silver piece is going to be in carbon fiber if it has a carbon fiber interior. However, this part on the outside means that it is an aftermarket part. We can see here that it does not have the carbon fiber around the cluster, and it is not on the doors as well. This is just a standalone part that someone put in. We can also see that this wheel is not a multifunction wheel. As you can see, it is in 3 colors, the Italian colors. I don't really like it, honestly. It's a yellow car with the red, white, and green wheel. It looks kind of weird, but it is not a multifunction wheel. No buttons here. Do they show the center console? So we can see here this car has the seat heaters as well. So this is going to be a fully electric and heated seat. We can see the controls down here. So not a bad spec of the car. I don't like the wheel, but you do have the fully electric and heated seats. You do have color contrast or color matching stitching and an aftermarket carbon fiber piece. So not too bad of a spec, but it could be better. Any offer under 265 will automatically be deleted. Yeah, I mean, this car is 27,000 miles and they want 265. I'd say for me, I'd be around the $245,000 mark. And obviously, I'm not going to get this car. He won't sell it to me. Cool. Moving on to our. Actually, this. Okay, well, I guess that one wasn't in the cards for today. So moving on to our next one, we have another 2012. We got a bunch of examples today. This one has 19,000 miles. This is in Spanish. Okay, so Spanish owner. The pictures are very grainy, so not sure if this is a scam or not. You can see here carbon fiber in the middle of the engine, but no carbon fiber around, no carbon fiber cross brace. It's really hard to tell on these low quality photos whether or not these black diffusers are in carbon or painted. So not the best example here. We can see also color contrast stitching. Let's show the center. We can see also that it has the fully electric and heated seats as well. And then we have the multifunction wheel here. So pretty standard interior. This one also has the Sensonum sound system, which is a really good upgrade. Perforated leather wheel. This one also has CarPlay, which is a good upgrade as well, especially because this is a 2012. But again, lots of plastic in terms of the silver interior trim. Not a fan. This one, though, being matte black with the standard interior, they're asking 286 grand. It's still a 2012 and has 20,000 miles. I think that's a little bit high. I'd be more around the $270,000 mark for this one. Cool. Moving on to our next one, we have another silver example. This one is going to be the same one actually, so we can exit out of that. Here we have a 2013. I really like this example, but I think it's just because of the wheels. Honestly, the stance that this car has is very meaty and fat compared to a standard Aventador, but again, these are aftermarket wheels. This one has a nice interior. It's going to be the bicolor interior in leather. Also, it has the carbon fiber center console as well as the carbon fiber door handles. I don't know what's going on around here. It does not have the carbon fiber binnacle, but it does have the carbon fiber center console. Oh, it's not. So this basically is an upgraded aftermarket carbon fiber center console because this part is still in silver. It would be in carbon if it was a true carbon interior car, but at least they did the center console and the door handles to make it look a little bit more cohesive. We can see the door handles up here. This one is a nice spec in my opinion. White on black on red. It's a 2013, so you're able to tune the transmission to be a little bit better, more equitable, more of similar to the 2014s and up. So you have that going for it. $299,000 are asking, and it has 21,800 miles. I'd say because this is a 2013, I'd be willing to go up to 285 grand for this car, as long as they include the original wheels. But very nice. This one is a balloon white, I believe. Very nice color. Also looking at the engine bay, we can see the center is not carbon, but it is painted. We do have the carbon surround, but no carbon rear cross brace. So not a bad spec car. I mean, it doesn't have original interior carbon, and exterior doesn't look like it's carbon either, but it is good in terms of balloon white on black on red. So it has that going for it. 285 grand for this one. Cool. All right, let's move on to the next one. We have another yellow example. This one is a 2013 as well. You can see this one is nice. It's on the, man, I forgot the wheel names already. Hold on. Imperioni, that's what it's called. Let's just bring this up. Imperioni. So it has the Imperioni wheels, black, yellow on black, very nice. Yellow calipers as well. It does not look like this part is in carbon fiber, the rear diffuser. How about the front? Can't really tell that either. Interior is very basic. We can see the silver trim, color matching stitching, yellow stitching on the regular seats. Let's see the center console. It does have the fully electric and heated seats, so that's good. But in terms of this regular spec, we can see no carbon fiber on the engine. Well, you do have a carbon fiber engine surround, but no carbon fiber middle and no carbon fiber cross brace. This is a 50th anniversary. Which is weird because they also have the LP720, which is the 50th anniversary, but this is the 700 50th anniversary. Glass engine bay option, we saw that. $15,000 IPE exhaust, so it must sound really good. They want 305 for this, but it only has 13,000 miles. I'd say that this is worth that much, honestly, especially being a 2013, not a 2012. The only problem is it has no carbon fiber on the exterior or interior besides the engine bay. I can't tell if this is carbon fiber or not. It's just not a great picture. How about this video? Oh, maybe the sound. Oh, here we go. Let's listen to the sound real quick. Is he gonna rev it inside? What a pointless video. Anyway, this one I'd be around the 300 grand mark for this 2013 with 12,700 miles. Cool. Moving on to a 2014. 15K for the exhaust. 15K. So now we're moving on to 2014, the first model year where the Roadsters came out. This one is an LP700-4 Roadster with 20,600 miles, and they want 330 grand for it. It's going to be in this gray color with a Sportivo interior. So we have, it's not a bicolor, but it is an Alcantara interior with big yellow accenting on the sides. You can see that here. It is also a Q Citura interior in terms of the seats having the diamond stitching. Should also be on the doors as well, but I did not see it on the doors, to be honest. Yeah, no Q Citra on the doors. And honestly, it actually should be on this back wall too. So these seats might be aftermarket in terms of, these might not have been originally Q Citra, but you'd have to see the original build sheet for that info. You can see here though, no interior carbon. You can see the kick plates are not carbon. The front splitter is in plastic. Rear splitter is also in plastic, so no carbon on this example at all. 20,000 miles, and they want 330 grand for it. Not a good deal at all. This one is also on the Dione wheels. Yeah, this one compared to this one is crazy because this one they want 305 and it has 12,700 miles and it has a $15,000 exhaust. This one has nothing to say about it. It's just the two-tone interior with cross stitching. This one just has Q Citra and they want 30 grand more almost. Not worth it all. This one I'd say I was going up to 300. This one I'd be around the 297 mark. I don't want to say 295. That's too low, but I don't want to say 300. This actually no. I didn't even factor in the miles. I'd say for me, being that this is a 20,600 mile car, I'd be at the 290 mark for this one. 300 for this one, 290 for this one. Moving on to our next example, we have a 2015. So this is going to be the first year of the Gen 2 Aventadors. Better cars in every way than the 2012 through 2014. And as you can see, the prices do reflect that. This is a higher mile car, 27,700 miles, and they want 315 grand for it. See, this one is in a matte black with red calipers on the Dione wheels. Trying to see if there's carbon on the rear. It doesn't look like carbon. Yeah, no carbon on the front, no carbon on the rear. No carbon on the interior. However, we do have a smooth leather wheel. Pretty rare to find a smooth leather wheel. Most of them are going to be that perforated leather. So we can also see this one has the base interior silver, no carbon fiber here. Looking at the seats, do they show this? Yep, we have the fully electric and heated seats though. And yeah, this one looks like it has the standard Lamborghini audio system. They usually say Sensonum at the bottom of the doors. Right here, but I can't really tell. Yeah, it doesn't say Sensonum. This is going to be a regular Lamborghini audio system. 27,700 miles. They want 314, and it is a 2015. I'd say for this high amount of miles, I'd be willing to go up to $305,000. Jacob says, Anwar, if you own such a car, how often and how many miles would you drive it in a year? For me, okay, so if I were to have if money was no object, is that the term? Object? If money wasn't an issue, I drive this car every day. However, these are very expensive. It's not like you can afford to lose money on other cars, but this one I really don't think I'll ever be in a position in my life to be comfortable losing tens of thousands of dollars for no reason. So for me, I'd say I'd probably cap it around 5,000 miles a year, which is a lot for one of these. However, if you know me personally, I love driving, and every one of my cars, I put like 30,000 miles plus a year on them. So yeah, 5,000 is what I'd probably keep it at. I could lose some money. I probably would be comfortable losing, I don't know, like 2 or 3% on a car like this. So what's that? 2 or 3% out of like 300 grand. That's like up to 10 grand. So I don't really want, and I'd probably only keep one of these for a year or two. So that's around $10,000 a year that I'm paying just on owning the car without putting miles on. So putting that 5,000 miles is definitely going to make the car I'll probably lose about 30 grand on a car like this. So yeah. That's the point. I want the fun car. I want fun, not the car. Exactly. I've never been a garage queen person. That's why I'm never going to buy like a brand new supercar. I'm not into losing that amount of money for the expense. Like, I'm also not into keeping your car like pristine. Like all of my cars, I drive them. I like driving. I think cars are made to be driven. A lot of people are going to disagree. They're going to think that, people should keep cars as in pristine as possible because, I just disagree. I think that you should enjoy life, like that is not enjoying life. If you're constantly worried about putting miles in your car, it's not a good way to live, especially if you have a supercar. Like, why are you living like that? This one has aftermarket exhaust. It looks like, I don't know what's going on here. Yeah, I said 305, but I don't know what's going on with the exhaust, so 300. Moving on to our next example, we have one in red. I really, really like red Aventadors. I think red is one of the best colors for a Lamborghini, even though people think that, it's a Ferrari color. I think Lamborghinis in red look great. Gallardos in red look great. Huracans in red look great. Aventadors in red look great. Mercies in red too. This one is a nice spec. We can see off the bat that it has the interior in carbon as well as having a carbon fiber wheel. We also can see that it has the Q Citroën seats with the Q Citroën carrying over to the door panels. This is what it should look like. Does it show the back behind the seats? Unfortunately not. But you also will see Q Citroën on the back wall as well. Jacob said, well, this is a different red. No. Yeah, then a Ferrari. Yeah, this is more of like a fire truck red. Ferrari reds are much more deep and rich. This one is like a flat red. Anyway, going back to the interior, we can see a bunch of like red carbon aftermarket bits like this switch panel right here, as well as the gauge cluster material itself, as well as the paddles and seatbelt. Not really a big fan of this kind of stuff. It looks kind of cheesy, but again, yeah. You can see it's on the center as well. I would have done without this stuff. We can also see they have carbon fiber vents as well. So lots and lots of carbon fiber. Moving on to the rear engine compartment, we can see carbon fiber fully surrounding the engine as well as being on the centerpiece and the cross bracing carbon fiber. So full carbon fiber car. Let's see the front. The front diffuser is in carbon fiber. The rear diffuser is in carbon fiber. So fully carbon fiber car, interior and out, with some extra carbon fiber on the vents. It's on the I forgot the wheel names again. It's on the Dione wheels, as you can see. It's on lowering springs by Novitec. Super rare raw Mars pearl color. Super low 8K miles. Excellent condition. Yep, just a lot of good things to say about this car. This car is a really nice spec. Ignoring the tacky red bits, but that can all be changed easily. If you like big chains around your neck, this is your car, right? Exactly. Yup. If you live in Miami and you have big chains and you wear designer, this is your car. It's like, I'm going to be the person who drives one of these cars in like sweats and like a t-shirt. Like, I'm not really a big designer clothes guy, but I'll spend my money on cars. This one, fully carbon fiber, interior and out, plus engine bay in red, 8,500 miles. They want $370,000 for this one. I get it. It's low miles. It's also 2015, the first model year of the Gen 2, so very desirable year to get. 370 is a lot though, but considering that this is fully loaded in terms of carbon, that carbon, those extras on paper are like 30, 40 grand, all this included. So you're really getting what you're paying for. For me, I'd be willing to go up to 355 grand is where I'd stop at for one of these. It's still a regular 700-4. It's not anything special in terms of the trim level. So I'm trying not to get too high in those because this is not like a later model year base. This is still a 2015 first model year of the second gen. So 350 is where I'd be at. 355 or 350, somewhere in that range. Not too far off. Here we have our first example of an SV. This is going to be a 2016 with 40,000 miles. So you can see this is probably the cheapest SV on the market, one of the cheapest ones, under 400K. This one's in white. Shout out to Cario Motor Cars. This one also has a sport bucket seats. One thing that's you need to know about Lambos is that the sport bucket seats, they look really cool. But other than that, they are very uncomfortable. They don't move, like they don't go up and down. They just move forward and backwards. They're stiff. You don't have electric controls. You also don't have seat heaters. But they do look cool. For me though, I would definitely try to avoid the bucket seats. Not really a big fan of them in terms of, functionality. They look cool, but that's about it. Maybe if you had a Roadster where the seats could be more visible, then maybe go for the buckets if you're into that. But I always recommend going for the regular seats, even in the SV and the SVJ. They're more comfortable. We can see this one does not have the engine cover. Don't know where it went, but it should have been in carbon. Not sure where it went though. Carbon fiber braces. This is an SV, so everything is going to be in carbon. Interior, same way. We can see the carbon fiber center console, carbon fiber door pieces. And we can also see, because this has the bucket seats, it does not have seat heaters. This car does not have adjustable pedals. It's just you just adjust the seat. That's it. This has the no multifunction wheel, the standard wheel, as you can see here in Alcantara. This is going to be your SV cluster. As you can see, it's different than the regular traditional cluster. The traditional cluster, let's see if I can find a picture. The traditional cluster has a circle gauge, while the SV has a square gauge with a half circle, so a little bit different in terms of the interior. I'm actually curious, do all SVs not come with this cover? We're about to find out. But yeah, it also has a yellow gauge cluster, so little differences there. This SV, though, again, is one of the cheapest ones on the market right now. $400,000 and has almost 40,000 miles, 38,000 miles. You know, I mean, it's really hard to price the cheapest one, but for me, I'd go up to around 375. I'd say 375. See what they have to say. How do you know the car is fitting your size? Drive to the dealer. Yeah, you have to sit in them, unfortunately, to get a feel for them. The one thing I forgot to mention about the bucket seats is that they are much thinner, so they are better for taller people. The reasoning behind that is that they made more space so you can have your helmet in the car. So yeah, if you're really tall and you know, super tall, like 6'6" plus, maybe the bucket seats are for you. But again, those only come in the SV and the SVJ. Maybe the Ultimate, I'm not sure, but I haven't really seen too many Ultimate examples to make that conclusion. Moving on to our next example, we have a low mile SV, still 2016. We can see here, this one is a roadster as well. This first one we looked at was a coupe. So white with the red accents. We can see all the carbon fiber, standard for the SV. But this one has the comfort seats, as you can tell. Let's see if we can. This is what the bucket seats look like. Can I get a better picture? So this is what the bucket seats look like. They have this carbon piece right here. But this is what the comfort seats look like. As you can tell, they're much softer looking. And no carbon piece. This is just the standard seat. You can see here, of course, I mean, not of course. Well, you can see all the carbon pieces. Again, the push rods are in red. I'm trying to see the center stack, but they don't really show it. Oh, they do right here. Well, this is what I was looking at before. Anyway, you can't really see because of the reflection, but this does have the heated seats. And then also, just to clarify, a true interior package for an Aventador will have this entire thing surrounded, and it'll be the center. The outside will be wrapped in leather. This one also has the I forget what the speaker system is called. Sensonum. Yeah, Sensonum. This one also has a Sensonum system. You can see the logo right here. Cool. Moving on to our next example. This is going to be a 2018 Aventador. This is an S. So this one's in more of a deeper, more rich red, but it has white SV wheels, which looks pretty cool. White on red is definitely a cool color combo. Shout out to Carrier Motor Cars. Interior, we can already see that it is a black interior with the Q Citura stitching. It is also an Alcantara interior, so it is a sportive interior with white trim. You can also see it is a carbon interior car. We see the carbon surround for the gauges. We also see the carbon center console and carbon door handles, as well as the black bottom of the steering wheel. This one also has, of course, the Lamborghini headrests and the logo on the dash. We can see with the S, they carried over the new style from the SV in terms of the way the gauge cluster is set up in this square, but they put in the old gauge, what do I call this? The old gauge graphics in terms of it being a circle, not a half circle. And as you can see, it's an S. It has the tri-exhaust as well as the reshaped rear end. The S is a really good car. It just, you know, they're really expensive right now, so they aren't the best deal. But in terms of what's going to hold their value the most, I think the S is, because it's like a base level car. It's better than the base, but it still has some of the base styling. And it's just, it's like a base plus almost. This one, they want $390 grand for it, and it's a 2018 with 12,000 miles. I'm not sure what the title status on this car is, you know, but it is a 2018, so a late model year for one of these, and it's still under 400 grand, which is pretty good, especially because it only has 12,000 miles. For me, I'd be around 380 grand for this, but yeah, 380 to 390 is a pretty good deal for one of these. I'd just probably be around the 380 mark myself. Cool. Moving on to our second to last ad on Facebook, we have a 2019. This is going to be an Aventador S convertible. Not too many photos on this one. I just wanted to show you what the elegant interior with Q Citura looks like. So this is going to be that Terra color interior. Let's actually scroll up right here. Yep, it's going to be the Terra Durce brown, or it could be the Terra Semele. Not really too sure. Does it say here? It does not. So you'd have to look up the VIN on something like this, but I really, really like the way this looks in terms of its color spec. We got black on orange, and it is Q Citura as well. So we have the Q Citroën, no carbon fiber package on this car. Unfortunately, we see that it has a silver trim, but it is a really cool, elegante interior package. Black as well. We can see it's on the Dione wheels. Again, not too many pictures for this one. The one thing about this car, the reason why it's so cheap for the amount of miles, well, obviously this one was cheap too, which is something that I, really didn't understand. But this is a later model year, so it's a little bit more exciting, a little bit more expensive. But it is only 15,000 miles, and they want 410 grand for it. I'd say for me, because it doesn't have any carbon fiber, I can't really tell on the exterior. But because there's no carbon fiber on the interior, I'd be around the $400,000 mark for this. Don't really want to pay above 400 for something not an SV or an SVJ. And then moving on to our final ad on Facebook, we have a red SVJ. You can see here it's on some different wheels. These I don't know what wheels these are, but they still center locks. This is 2019, so it's it's an SVJ. Are these SVJ wheels? I guess they are SVJ wheels. I'm not too sure, honestly. Yep, you like this red? This is like a satin red. It's not matte. There is still some shine to it, but it looks like slightly wet, so it's a satin red, not matte. We can see it's an SVJ, so of course it's going to come with all carbon interior, also the carbon fiber door pieces. But not really much to say about this, honestly. It's very expensive. 700 grand for it, 2,600 miles. As I mentioned before, these were going well above $1 million 3 years ago. And now, as you can see, for this one, low miles, 2,600 miles, 700 grand. So $500,000 loss on these cars. Insane amount of money lost on these cars. Insane. Same thing with the SF90. A lot of people were paying 900 grand for those. They are now in the 500s, back to where they started. So people lost money on those too. So I just feel bad for a lot of people who lost money on these. Again, SVJ has the ALA aerodynamic system. You can also tell it's an SVJ because it has the high mounted dual exhaust as opposed to the quad low exhaust in the SV, and the tri exhaust on the S and the quad lower exhaust on the base. The Ultimate also shares its high exit dual exhaust. Yeah, this is your dream car right here. The SVJ is good. I don't like the front end though. I think it's too smooth. Anyway, that covers Facebook. Let's move on to Auto Trader. Hopefully these ads are a little bit better in terms of quality for pictures. So let's get into it. We have our first example here. It's going to be a blue Celeste Phoebe. I guess that's what it's called. Very nice blue. This is what I would call a Miami blue with a black roof. As you can see, first model year, it is a coupe. Obviously, the Roadster didn't come out till 2014. We can see the yellow push rods back here. This has the, I was about to say it has engine in carbon, but it does not. No carbon engine here. We can see the carbon engine cover in the middle. That's about it in terms of what comes on this car. Let's see. Does this show the exterior? We got some under panel shots. As you can see, it's an Aventador. It's going to have a smooth underbody. We got some damage right here, but of course, it is a first model year Aventador. It's not going to be perfect. Interior, we can see it's going to be a standard interior. Do we have heated seats and whatnot? At least. Scroll. Wow, they don't even want to show this in our console. Looks like colored ice cream. Yep, it has the heated seats. So we do have the heated and electric seats on this car. We do also have the color contrast yellow stitching. But other than that, it's going to be a standard unicolor interior. No carbon on this one. This is very much a rental spec car. I get it. It's a 2012, so it probably was not the best for a rental fleet because people are going to be dogging this car out. And it is a 2012, so you're going to have those extra repair costs. But in terms of the spec, it looks very nice on the outside, but not very equipped at all. We see carbon fiber on the front, though, so we have carbon fiber diffuser. How about the rear? Carbon fiber rear as well. Cool. So this has a nice exterior spec. No carbon on the engine bay. It just looks good. This is like a 5-footer car. So it looks good from 5 feet away, but once you look up close, you can see it's not really that specced out, but it still looks very good. 5 feet is very close, by the way. Usually cars are like 20-footer cars. Like you can see the car for like an older car with bad paint or something. 20 feet away looks pretty good, but you get up close to see all the swirls and everything. This is a 5-footer car. It looks good up until you get really close and you realize it doesn't have any carbon on the engine bay. No carbon on the interior, but it still looks very, very good. 262 grand they're asking. 18.7 in terms of mileage. 18,700 miles. So not the lowest amount of miles. We're getting up there in terms of mileage. 20 grand is probably where I'd stop at. For me, being that it has exterior carbon. And it's a nice color. I'd be at the $250,000 mark for this one. 250 is where I'd be at. If it was low miles, I could consider going up from there. But 18,000 miles is getting a little bit up there in terms of price or mileage. Here we have our next 2012 example. This one is going to be, we already looked at this one actually, right? Yeah, we already looked at this one. Cool. Now we're moving on to our 2013's example. So these ones are going to go up a little bit in price. We can see like a $15,000 jump in price for this car. It also has more miles than that last one as well, so keep that in mind. This one is in white. We can see it looks like it has rear carbon, no interior carbon. However, it does have the front heated, or not front, there are only 2 seats, but it has the heated and electric seats. You can see the carbon here. Scrolling down, we can see the carbon side vents as well. This is on the Dione wheels. No carbon interior though. We have a standard interior. This is going to be a unicolor with the electric seats. We can also see the perforated leather steering wheel here. Multifunction wheel as well. Yeah, engine bay, no carbon at all. Not even the centerpiece. This is all plastic and a metal crossbar. So nothing really that fancy going on with this spec. You have carbon on the exterior in terms of front and rear diffusers as well as the vents. However, no carbon on the engine bay, no carbon on the interior. Also, I do have the glass engine bay cover. I was trying to see if I could read this, but of course I can't. Nothing really to speak of. Does it have the good sound system? Can we at least see that on the inside? Nope, they don't want to show the doors. So no word on the sound system, but this is a white on black car, yellow calipers. Again, carbon fiber front and rear. It has 20,600 miles, and they're asking 277 grand for it. I'd say because this has no carbon on the interior and no carbon on the engine bay, I'd be willing to go up to $269,000. I think that this is a little bit high, especially because it's over the $20,000 mark, 20,000 mile mark. Cool. Moving on to our next example, we have a 2013 in this beautiful yellow. What's this yellow called, man? I gotta figure that out. In Giallo Claris. Giallo Claris. Very, very amazing color. It looks like the sun. Did we look at this one already? Hold on. 12,000 miles. 12,000. Yeah, we already looked at this one. We already looked at this one. See what I'm talking about? There's only like, well, I'd say there are a good amount of Aventadors for sale. It's about like 150 for sale right now. They probably are all getting dumped on the market this year because of the new successor, the Revuelto. So you're going to see a lot of them for sale. A lot of Aventadors, over 100. So tons of different ones to look for. Here we have another 2014. This is going to be a Roadster. This one's in orange. This one's an Arancio Argos Pegasus. Or Pegasus. Arancio Argos Pearl. I can't read. This one is an orange on a bicolor interior. Orange and black. It is a Roadster, as I mentioned. We can see the interior has the bicolor, on the panels as well as the seats. These are also going to be the non-heated, not fully electric seats. So base seats for this. We also have the base interior, no carbon fiber. We do have the Sensonum sound system though, so upgrade there. This one also has the branding package as well. So Lamborghini crest on the headrests, as well as the Lamborghini logo on the door, or on the dash. What else can we see here? We can also see this car does have the carbon fiber middle for the engine. However, no carbon fiber around the engine bay. No carbon fiber cross brace. That's what it looks like with the roof on. Here we have a Kia, a nice K5. Shout out to Kia. I don't know why that was there. But let's take a look at this. Installed options. Oh, this is the Kia one. I'm geeking. Anyway, let's keep scrolling down. Yeah, they don't even put an option sheet on here. So very lazy ad we have here. They didn't even bother to look at it again. So for that reason, I'm gonna, stay a little bit lower than what he's probably used to. 350 grand for this, only 12,200 miles. For me, for this car being a 2014, it doesn't have any carbon fiber to speak of. No carbon fiber on the front. It looks like, actually, this might be carbon fiber. I see a little bit of gloss. Nope, no carbon fiber. No carbon fiber on this car. The rear is also in black plastic. So no carbon fiber at all. This one, I'd be willing to go up to $337,000 for this. It is still 2014, so I'm really not keen on spending more than $350,000, especially on a 2014. However, this is a Roadster and with low miles, so it has that going for it. Cool. We have our next example, another 2014. This one is going to be in Nero Pegasus, one of the best colors for this. Let's see. Jacob says, what about the timing belt / chain? What is the inspection change? So what you'll find a lot of these supercars, I mean, honestly, I don't know what the intervals is for the timing chain, like service. But with these cars, you really shouldn't run into those issues because the mileage is so low for these. All I suggest doing is if you have a supercar of this caliber, take it once a year at least, not for problems, but for regular maintenance. Even if the car has nothing wrong with it, take it to the dealer. That way they keep on top of everything and you won't be running into issues where you're piling up a whole bunch of repairs at once. So looking at this one, we can see it has front carbon fiber. It has rear carbon fiber. It has the Sensonum sound system. Is that what's that? Sensonum? Sensonum, I don't know, whatever. So no carbon fiber on the interior though. We do have the heated and cooled seats. Carbon fiber on the engine bay is limited to the center portion. No cross brace, no surround. And then, yeah, we have a unicolor interior with the color contrast stitching in red. Also the branding package as well. Other than that, not too much going on for this. 12,300 miles it has. They want 350 grand. This is a 2014. It's not a 2015. And it is a coupe. So 350 is way too high for me. For me, I'd be around the $335,000 to $340,000 mark. Yeah, I try to keep it under 340 for something like this. I don't really want to get into the 350s because that's really where the 2015 pluses start. If it was a roadster, maybe, depending on the spec. But for this one, being that it doesn't have any interior carbon, just exterior carbon and not too much on the engine bay, I'd be around, we'll split down the middle, 337.5. Cool. Moving on to our next one, we have Roadster. This is going to be a 2014 Roadster in black. Shout out to iLuso. They take some good pictures. Interior wise, black unicolor with the red color contrast. Similar to the last spec we looked at, except this is a Spider or a Roadster. We can see on the rear, I'm trying to see if these are carbon fiber or not. Doesn't really look like it is, honestly. Trying to see the front specs. Yeah, no carbon fiber on the front, or actually, this isn't carbon fiber. I'm trying to see the vents on the side. Yeah, Roadster is cool. You can definitely jump into the car. This car is probably about, well, not very high at all, so you can definitely jump into it. We have carbon fiber wing. We have the glass panels. No carbon fiber on the interior, though. We're just going to assume it has carbon fiber on the front and rear. And they just show the engine bay. We do not have carbon fiber engine bay either. So this one, not much carbon fiber on it, just front and rear. No engine bay. 13,000 miles, 359 for this, and it is a Roadster. For me, I'd be willing to go up to 350 for this one. I think 350 is a good deal for a low mile Roadster with an adequate amount of carbon, especially in black. No Q-Stitcher, unfortunately, but it is what it is. The roof is a hardtop roof. It comes in 2 panels, and they are around like 15 pounds each, 13 to 15 pounds for each panel, and they actually slot in the front trunk. So you take them off manually. It's not an automated roof system. Cool. Moving on to our next example. We have a 2015 in orange. This one is going to be called Arancio Argos. So very nice orange color. This one's on the, man, I forgot the wheel names already. The Dione wheels. This one's on the, wow, okay. So here we have, let me just restart. Yeah, basically like a Targa top. That's basically what it is. The Mercy had a soft top that you put on manually, and it was a headache, and the Roadster Mercies go for way less than the coupes because of that. However, because this car has a convenient hardtop solution for the Roadsters, they do go for a little bit more. So here we have a 2015 LP700-4. This is going to be the first model year of the Gen 2 Mercies. You can see this one is in Arancio Argos, an orange color with a black interior. We can see carbon on the front. Very good picture here. You can see the weave. We also have the carbon vents on the hood as well. We also see the carbon fiber Aventador kick plate, meaning that this does have the carbon fiber interior package too. So here's the carbon fiber vents. Very good pictures. This is how they should look, so you can actually tell that they're carbon fiber. Carbon fiber side vents as well. What else can we see? Glass engine cover. This one also has the center piece of the engine in carbon, but the cross brace as well as the surrounds is not. Moving on to the interior, we can see it does have the carbon fiber interior. You can see the carbon fiber center console as well as the carbon fiber door handles as well as the carbon fiber kick plate. What else can we see here? Yep, it has the branding package. Has a Sensonum sound system. Multifunction wheel. This one also has the heated and this one also has the electric and heated seats. So fully electric and heated seats on this one. We can see the carbon surrounds the screen. This is a true carbon package car. We can also see the color contrast stitching, or actually this is color matching stitching going around the interior. 2 keys. But yeah, very nice example. Orange on black with color matching stitching on the interior, multifunction wheel, carbon interior package, carbon exterior. The only thing we're missing is the carbon engine surround and the carbon cross brace, but everything else is in carbon. So high spec car here, 15,400 miles, and they want 365 grand for it. I think this is a really accurately priced car. Lots of carbon, especially on the exterior where it matters. Carbon on the interior just adds, a little bit to that as well. The only problem is we don't have, the full, like a true upgraded interior in terms of Q Citra or any cool color options. This is a unicolor with the color matching stitching. We also have the carbon front and rear, as I mentioned, side blades as well, along with the glass engine cover. This one being at 15,000 miles, I'd be around the $360,000 mark for this one. I think this car is a really good spec, good color, low miles, and would be a pretty good example of something to get if you, keep it for a year or so, keep it under 20,000 miles, get rid of it, and then you probably won't lose any money. Here we have another 2015. This one has a different look to it. It's not color matched. You have matte side skirts, matte front of the bottom diffuser, as well as a matte rear section. Actually, no, the rear is all painted. So we have the matte side skirts and matte front. In terms of this, I'm trying to see the rear bumper. Is it in carbon? This front piece, So it's kind of hard to see on this example. It does not look like it's in carbon though. This does look like a flat color, no weave. Yeah, so no carbon front or rear, which is unfortunate. The interior though is nice. We have a carbon interior with Q Citra. So we see the Q Citra on the doors, on the seats. It's also going to be on the rear wall, as you can see here. So Q Citra along with color matching stitching, along with the full carbon interior multifunction wheel. So pretty good interior spec. The exterior spec isn't that great. We do have a carbon fiber engine surround and engine cover, but no cross brace. So in terms of carbon, this car is a good amount. In weird places though, it's on the interior as well as the engine bay, but not on the front or rear splitters, unfortunately. So what can we say about this? 20,000 miles. They want 330 grand for it. That's pretty on. It's pretty accurate. It's a 2015. It has high-ish miles for what we're looking at today. No exterior carbon where it matters. It does have a good interior package, Q Citra, two-tone, and carbon. So you pretty much fully loaded on interior. I'd say for me, being that this is a 20,000 mile car, I'd be willing to go up to $323,000. Keep it low simply because of the high miles and not having carbon on the exterior. Moving on to our next example, we have another 2015. This one is going to be in Giallo Orion, which is a lighter color than the other one. The other one was a Giallo Claro or something. No, Claro is, shout out to Claro, but it's something else. I need to know. Giallo Clarus, that's what it's called. Anyway, moving on to this one, we have a Giallo Orion. So it's a lighter yellow, not as, orange, I guess. This one's a little bit lighter. You can see this one's a roadster as well. Exactly, Bumblebee yellow. It's on the Dione wheels. Interior, we have a carbon interior as well as Q Citra, so fully loaded interior. On the front, we can see this is plastic, no carbon splitter on the front. We do have the carbon vents on the hood though. Mirrors going to be painted. Dione wheels. You can see carbon fiber engine base surround, but no carbon fiber cross brace, and we can't see the center because they have this stupid bisecting body colored line. I wish this was just a big open piece like on a coupe. I don't know why they did it like that. Whatever. You can see also the branding package. So Q Citra interior, branding package, carbon fiber interior. This one also is the fully electric and heated seats. So very, very nice spec here. Let's see if we can see the rear of it. Yep, we can see the fully surround, or the fully carbon engine surround, as well as the engine piece in the middle being carbon fiber. Cross braces are in regular metal though. Did they show the rear at all? I'm trying to see if it had. Nope, no carbon fiber front or rear, just carbon fiber in the engine bay. Oh, it has the carbon fiber side vents though, so no carbon fiber front and rear, just on the sides and in the engine bay and in the interior. So kind of a good spec. It's just missing carbon on the front and rear. 370 grand they're asking. It only has 10,000 miles. I'd say because it only has 10,000 miles, this is pretty close in terms of price. I'd be more around the 360 mark. I think that if I wanted to pay 370, I would have to have the carbon rear and front, and that's probably worth more than 10 grand anyway. So I could probably even go lower than that. But I'd say 360 simply because it's a low mile car, as well as having a really, really nice interior spec. Almost done, y'all. Wow, we're at 2 hours. This is going to be the longest one ever, but this is the 100th episode. If you guys didn't realize it, this is the 100th episode. You should like the video just because it's the 100th episode. Subscribe if you haven't. I've been doing this for months now at this point, just covering every single car I can think of. And what better way to spend the 100th episode than going over my favorite car and into the great detail that we have been going on. It's going to be crazy. Like, I don't even know who's going to watch this later. It's going to be like 3 hours. Yeah, anyway. This one is a nice one. 360 grand is where I'd be at. Cool. Moving on to another one. We have another 2015. Lots of 2015s, but again, this is going to be the best model year to get, so I wanted to provide a lot of examples for this model year. This one is in orange. This one's in Arancio Argos on the Dione wheels in a gunmetal gray. You can see the front has the carbon fiber diffuser. The rear also has carbon fiber. We can see that shine there. Scrolling down, this one also has a really, really nice interior spec. We have a bicolore interior with the carbon fiber package. So you can see carbon fiber on the center as well as the door handles along with the gauge surround. This one also has an Alcantara steering wheel. We can see that here. Very nice. The only thing, it does have a silver bottom to the steering wheel. Usually they're black if they have the carbon interior, but I guess this one just happens to have a silver steering wheel. We can see again, this is going to be a bicolor elegante. Or no, this is the bicolor sportive because it has the leather and Alcantara combo. So pretty cool interior spec. Not only does it have the interior carbon for the center console, door handles, and the center console or the gauge cluster surround, but it also has the rear of the seats in carbon fiber. So very, very high spec car here. Branding package, of course. You also have the color matching stitching. So one of the highest specs we've seen so far. Carbon front and rear. Does it have the carbon side vents? It does have the carbon side vents. Let's take a look at the engine bay if they're ever going to show it. Lots and lots of pictures. This one, full carbon engine bay. We have the carbon engine bay surround. We have the carbon engine cover as well as the carbon cross braces. Tons and tons of options. In fact, I'd say this is the first Lambo we've looked at that checks every single box in terms of options. 8,300 miles and they want 370 grand. This is what I'm talking about. Under 10,000 miles for a 2015 coupe, 370. You shouldn't pay any more than 370 for a 2015 coupe. That should be the most you pay for. Everything included, like fees, dealerships, costs, whatever. 370 should be the most. I'd say for me, being that this is a top spec and only having 8,000 miles, I'd be willing to go up to 365 grand for this example. Hey, shout out to Jacob just dropping cash today. Appreciate it, man. I like the description of what it means. Character saying you rock while showing their pumped bicep. Thank you, Jacob. Shout out to Jacob Black. He carries a chat every single show, all the way from Austria. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Anyway, this one being the top spec, we can't really get any better than this. 365 grand for this example. Moving on to our next one, we have another 2015. As you can see, even less miles and even higher of a price, but this one is very special. This one is pretty much all custom. I looked at it before, that's how I know. 7,500 miles. They're asking 390. but for very good reason. So let's take a look. We can already see that it has a custom carbon front splitter, but as well as also having factory carbon parts. Same thing with the rear carbon rear splitter along with the factory carbon parts as well. This one is also lowered on some wheels. I'm not sure what wheels these are. You can see the carbon roof pieces in the trunk. It is a roadster. We can see that here. It has the yellow springs. Can't really see much with the engine bay, but looking at the interior, this one is insane. Completely yellow, completely custom. This one was completely ordered custom from the factory. So you can see the extent to how they can customize these cars if you're willing to pay the price. Looking at this one, fully optioned out interior. We have the full carbon, full leather yellow interior with color contrasting in black stitching. We can see 73. Not really sure what 73 means. I know that 63 is a big deal on the SVJs because that is a rare version, but 73, not really too sure, but it is everywhere in this interior. Super high spec. Again, we have the carbon engine surround, carbon middle, and also the carbon fiber cross brace. So again, this is fully loaded, fully personalized. Sensonum sound system as well. Even has a custom wheel. As you can see, the shape is a little bit different. Carbon fiber and yellow leather mix. Multifunction wheel as well. What else can we see here? Heated and cooled front seats. You can see fully electric seats as well. These are going to be in full carbon too. So the sides of the seats and the back of the seats are all in carbon. Again, this is like the top spec of an Aventador. This is actually the picture for the thumbnail. One of my favorites in terms of customized, one of my favorite examples in terms of super customized example. I don't know what I'm saying. Anyway, very nice example. This one though, I mean, it's a little extreme. You even have carbon fiber mirrors. But again, this one would have to find a very specialized buyer because not everyone wants a full yellow on yellow car. So because of that, it's probably not going to reach its price. But if it did find the perfect buyer, it could potentially reach that price. I'm trying to see what it has to say about it. Special bespoke order, low miles, carbon fiber options, market values fluctuating. Yep, that is true. They are all over the place. This one is really hard to price because of all these options. However, if I were to just give it a little bit of a bump over that last example, which was a fully spec'd factory example, this is a fully spec'd custom example, so you're going to add a little bit of value there. I'd say for me, I'd be willing to go up to 380 grand for this. I think 380 grand for this 7,500 mile example, 2015, fully custom interior. I don't think you're going to lose much on this. Yeah, it's just going to take you a little bit longer to sell it when you turn around and do that. Cool. Moving on to our next example, 2016, our first 2016 example. We can see this one is in white with some red accents. We can see a black and red stripe. We also have a very interesting side skirt right here, as well as having some red accents on the front. Looking at the front diffuser, we can see that it is in carbon. The side diffuser is in carbon as well, but it is an aftermarket piece. And then moving on to the rear, this part is in carbon too. So fully carbon exterior. I can't really see the side blades, but I'm going to assume they are in carbon because you do see a little bit of a shine to them. This one also has an aftermarket spoiler, also in carbon. I'm trying to see, does this have like a body kit from a brand? So this has, oh, this is a Pirelli edition. Okay, so that is why it looks like this. It is a Pirelli edition. Very rare. In fact, I had some info on the Pirelli edition. Let's bring up the Wikipedia real quick. Oh, that's not it. Bring up the Wikipedia, go back to this. We'll scroll on to the Pirelli edition. It was here somewhere. Pirelli edition. Yep, so we see here the Pirelli edition. It featured design and color scheme that echoed the Pirelli tire with the thin red stripe running across the roof. So it doesn't come with the big spoiler, as you can see. It just looks like this, but it does have those red accents. The guy added the spoiler. So yeah. Anyway, getting back to this, you can see the spoilers added. But scrolling down to the interior, we can see it's a very, very nice interior spec. We have a bicolor sportive interior with all Alcantara bicolor. So we have Alcantara outsides and insides. It's not a dual material seat. It is all Alcantara. We also have the Alcantara center tunnel with the carbon fiber interior package. What's interesting is that you don't have carbon fiber on the wheel, but we'll just ignore that for now. It's still a silver wheel. But again, sometimes the wheels are silver. That didn't come specifically with the carbon fiber package. We can see here Pirelli edition. You see the Pirelli parts in the seats. Carbon fiber door handles. This is a roadster, so it does have this stripe going down the hood as well. But glass engine cover. We also see the carbon fiber cross bracing, as well as the engine surround. Not sure if the middle of the engine is carbon, but I would assume so. Let's see, Pirelli edition. Yep, this is a special edition. So, of course, it's going to carry a little bit of a premium in terms of price. Jacob says there are carbon aftermarket pieces. Yeah, of course, there are carbon aftermarket pieces. There are tons of different companies that make body kits for these cars. You can get whatever you want. Just know that it's going to be very expensive. As with all aftermarket parts for supercars, the people making them are not in the business of, they're in the business of making money. And they know that their clients, they're supercar owners, they can pay a lot. So supercar tax is a thing that comes with repairs, that comes with valet. Like if you valet this, a $20 tip is nothing. You have to give like a $50 tip because you drive a Lamborghini. Like, what are you, a cheap ass? Like, that's some things that come with owning this type of stuff. Just in general, just having nice things, you're gonna have a big spotlight on you. So yeah, aftermarket parts are gonna be expensive. Service is gonna be expensive. Valet is gonna be expensive. People expect you to just hand out money because, of course, you spent all your money on this. So of course you have more to give out, right? Yeah, I'd go up to 380 for this. I mean, 380 is a lot for a coupe, but it is a Pirelli edition. It is low miles, so 380. I don't suspect they're really getting any higher than that though, so you might be at risk for depreciation getting one of these, but it is in rare numbers in terms of production, so keep that in mind. I wouldn't recommend getting any of these special editions. You're going to be paying a lot more than you really should. Cool. Moving on to the next example, we have a 2017. Notice how we went from 2012 and we were already at 2017, still base Aventador. The base Aventador was made up until 2018 or 2019. We'll see in a minute. But yeah, the base Aventador made all throughout the years. And that's why I do believe that the base Aventador is the best value because, you can get a newer one with better technology and it still has the old school styling. Jacob says, so why would I buy an aftermarket if it's expensive? Why not go for original parts? So the original parts are going to be more expensive than the aftermarket. Obviously, I'm just saying the aftermarket is still expensive. It's not like you can get, like, say this, I'm just going to make up numbers. Say this option to get this front package from the factory is $8,000. Aftermarket, you're probably looking like 5 or 6. So it's cheaper to get aftermarket. But again, I think the problem with aftermarket is that for the people that really care, it makes a difference. They don't want aftermarket stuff. They want a completely factory car. But for 99% of people, which includes just bystanders looking at the car as it drives by, they don't really care. It's like with watches, you can get like a bust down Rolex for half the price of like a factory Rolex, well, not half the price, but anyway, if you get a bust down watch, bust down meaning it's full of diamonds, but it's aftermarket diamonds, it's going to take away from the value. Same thing with the aftermarket parts, it'll take away from the value. If you get a factory bust down Rolex, those are like $500K. So just keep that in mind. Anyway, cool. Moving on to 2017. We have our first Aventador S. We can see this one is in white, balloon white to be specific. Yeah, I'm not a big watch guy, so this is the watch I wear. So shout out to the Casio Electroluminescence, $18. I've had a bunch of these. Best watch. If I were to get a watch, I think I'd do a Patek Philippe Nautilus. That is my favorite watch, simply because it's about this size, and it is just very expensive. I remember I put one on my wrist. I was like, wow, this is $100K right here. Like, it's so tiny. But yeah, I get a Patek Philippe Nautilus. That's about it. Cool. All right, scrolling through this one. Oh yeah, 429 grand. They're asking 7,000 miles. So as you can see, the S starts to creep into the $400,000 mark, and that's completely normal. We can see this one has the full engine in carbon. We have the carbon fiber engine cover, engine surround, as well as the cross bracing on top of having the glass panels. So very, very nice spec so far. Unfortunately, I don't see any carbon fiber on the rear. Yeah, no carbon fiber on the rear to see here. Front end. The S is a little bit different in terms of the carbon fiber placement, but as you can see, it looks very much painted. So no carbon fiber on this S here on the exterior. How about on the vent? Yeah, the S also does not have the carbon piece at all. As you can see, it's just painted. Interior, we can see the carbon fiber interior option simply because it has this illuminated carbon fiber door sill. That's how you can tell off the bat. Interior, we have the Q Citra interior, but as you notice that the Q Citra doesn't carry over to the doors, which is interesting. Sometimes it's on the doors, sometimes it's not on the doors. So not really too sure what that's about, but we do have a two-tone, or not a two-tone. This is going to be a sportive leather interior. We can see it has the color accents in red along with the color contrast red stitching. So we have Q Citra, red color contrast, full carbon interior, as we can see here. We also have the black wheel, which I like a lot better than the silver wheel. Carbon fiber centerpiece as well. And then, yep, we can see over here. I'm trying to see the center console. Did they show that up close? Wait, let's look at the vents again. Yep, no carbon fiber to speak of. Well, they don't really show the center console up close, which is unfortunate, but I assume that these are going to have heated and cooled, or heated and fully electric seats. This one having 7,000 miles, 429 grand. It's a good spec. It has carbon in the engine bay, has carbon in the interior. I don't really see any places where carbon could really sit on the exterior, to be honest. Maybe right here, but I can't really tell based on these pictures. No. Yeah, nope. For this one, you know, it is an S. It's a 2017 first model year, the S. 7,000 miles, low miles. You really can't say that this is a bad price, but for me, I'd be around the $417,000 mark. Don't want to go up to 420, but 417, see where we can land. It is balloon white, so that is pretty desirable as a color. So keep that in mind. This has some good options, but I'd be at 417 just to see what the seller would say. Cool. Move on to our next one. This is a very special example of the Aventador. This is going to be an Aventador Mura edition. I'm not sure exactly what the name is called, but it was styled to resemble the Mura. As you can see, it has the lower sections and wheels in gold. Aptech, I'm not sure what that is actually, but we can see no carbon fiber on the rear. Mura 50th anniversary edition. It's on the what is it called? What are these wheels called? I'm forgetting the wheels. It's crazy. I should know these things. Dione wheels. Again, Mura edition, very rare, very desirable to those who know. This is an if you know car. You can see the interior is very nice as well. It has the carbon interior package. We have carbon on the cluster surround, the center console, as well as the door panels. We do have the an elegante interior in a light brown. You can see the Mura insignia on the seats as well, on top of having the branding package. We can see the carbon surrounding everything, heated and fully electric seats as well. Engine bay, not anything special, no carbon fiber at all. In fact, this car has no carbon fiber on the exterior, front and rear, which is interesting. Not sure if that was planned out. Actually, hold on, let's look at the front splitter. Do they show that up close? Yep, no carbon fiber on the front or rear. No carbon exterior at all. This is the Mura. It has carbon on the inside. That's about it. 3,000 miles. They want 480 grand for this car. 480 grand. That's how much these Mura 50th anniversary editions go for. I mean, it's still an Aventador. It's not a Mura, so it's kind of weird how they have two different names on one car. But it is what it is. People will know what it is if they know, you know. So you will have bragging rights amongst your Aventador friends, but to everyone else, it would just look like a weirdly colored Aventador. 480 grand, 3,000 miles. It's really hard to price these. They're really hard to find. So for me, you know, I'd start off at 450. 450, I'd see what he has to say. He's going to be like, well, no, this is a 3,000 mile car. Like, not even an S is that cheap for a 3,000 mile car. But yeah, this is too expensive. Exactly, Jacob. Exactly. This is for people who, like, want a collector car. Honestly, this is a collectible item. It doesn't even have nice specs, to be honest. Cool. Moving on to our next one. So this is going to be a 2017 first model year for the SV. We have one in red, as we can see here. Very nice red. I love this bright red. Shout out to Fresh. This is exactly how his SV is, kind of. The wheels, I believe he has different wheels on it, but red and black SV nonetheless. Interior, we can see the bucket seats, so no heated and no power functions for the seat. It is an SV, so you're going to have lots of carbon fiber, black wheel. This one has the smooth leather wheel as opposed to Alcantara. It does have Alcantara. It's Alcantara and smooth leather. See the door panels in carbon. This is an SV. Just a very nice spec. 8,800 miles. They want 513 grand. This is actually a pretty low mile example. So you see a lot of SVs with low miles in the $500,000 mark. That is perfectly normal. That's how they've been for years. We looked at an SV earlier with 40,000 miles, and they were asking just around 400 grand. This one having 8,000 miles is around 400 or 514 grand. So you can see how many or how much the miles depreciate the cars. Jacob said, why would I drive a Lambo in red? Isn't it a Ferrari color? I mean, that's what people say. But for me, I've always said that Lambos look great in red. I think it's because of the fact that it's known as a Ferrari color. When you see a Lambo in red, it's kind of rare. And it really breaks your neck when you see one. Again, SV, 8,800 miles, 513,999. 999 they're asking. Not really anything to say about it. You can finally stop searching. You found the one you've been looking for. This is the one. Just what you've been looking for. Wow, that's a weird way to iterate that 3 or 4 times in a row. Anyway, this one, I'd say 500 grand. I'd be at 500, simply cutting it at $500,000. See what they have to say. Again, it's under 10,000 miles, so under 500 grand for this car with under 10,000 miles, I think is a good deal and a good play for the future. It wouldn't be the most cheap example, and that's not the point here. The point is that it's a Lamborghini Aventador SV, which I'd say by public consensus is way more desirable than the SVJ. The SVJ, you see them everywhere. Of course, we learned today that the SV is actually produced 200. There's actually 200 more SVs than SVJs, contrary to popular belief. However, I do believe that the SVs, because of their styling, the styling is so much more extreme than any Aventador, really. You can see this, even this spoiler looks crazy. It's facing forward, but it follows these lines. It kind of, basically the diffuser turns into a vent, which turns into a spoiler, which is such a crazy design. I don't really like it in terms of, I think it looks less clean than the base Aventador. However, I do think that this aggressive rear end is just very unique, and that's one of the many reasons. Same thing with the front end. Very unique, still aggressive, still looks like the base, but more aggressive. The SVJ just looks like a different car, in my opinion. And a lot of people share that same sentiment. That's why I believe that 500K for a low mile SV is going to be 500K for the next decade at least. So you're really not going to lose any money on a car like this. Cool. Moving on to our next example. This one's actually a very special example because this one was owned by Gintani. So it has a Gintani exhaust. I'm not sure who's the owner of it now, but if you're familiar with Gintani, they make very high-end exhaust for supercars, and I believe they really got famous for the SVJ exhaust. That's where I first heard about them, but they make exhaust for many different cars. We can see this one is on HREs. This literally is my favorite wheel. What is this? HRE 5-spoke. I forget what they're called. Yep, they're the HREs, the 305, so the Miami wheels. The HRE Miami wheels, because 305 is the Miami area code, if you didn't know. So HRE 305, literally my favorite wheels. Well, my favorite wheel from HRE, I'd say I also like Wed's Crans Brazzerias. Those are also really good wheels, but those are more for like VIP and stance stuff. This is more of a sporty look. In fact, look at these on an M6. This is what I really wanted. This looks amazing. But I mean, you guys can tell me. I think this stance with the M6 looks so good with these wheels. This is not even an M6. This is like a 650 or something. But it's still an E63. Just beautiful, beautiful wheels. And these are no different on the SVJ, especially in all black. Orange brake calipers with the orange contrast on the interior. Oh, did I say SVJ? I meant SV. So we can see that orange contrast in the interior. It's full SV interior with the comfort seats. So these are going to be the better seats to have, in my opinion. They're going to be more usable. The buckets are very uncomfortable. This one just has like the perfect stance. It's lowered a little bit, wide wheels. You can see it has a dual exhaust instead of a quad exhaust. We can see also on the interior, on the engine bay, it does not have the engine surround. So this makes me want to believe that there is no carbon engine surround for the SV. It's only on the regular base cars as well as the S and the SVJ. But we can see also a carbon fiber cross brace, but no carbon fiber engine cover. Sorry, I didn't mean this. So we can see the Gintani exhaust, amazing sounding exhaust. It literally sounds like an F1 car. This one is a full Alcantara wheel, carbon fiber interior as standard. It is an SV. But again, very famous car. In fact, hold on. Let me see if I can find it because, I mean, we're already going at 2 hours and 20 minutes. Might as well stretch it a little bit longer. Whoops. Oh, let me just move this over. I got too many tabs. Let's see. Tani SV. Trying to see the video of Gintani doing like he like peeled out in his SV, and it's like a viral video. Oh man. You've definitely seen it if you've seen Lambo videos online or on like Instagram or something. It's a video of him basically like launching it into a donut and then going down the road. I don't know how to describe it. Peel out. Maybe showing the black one specifically. Oh, here it is. Found it. So this is that car. Hold on, we gotta play this with sound. So this is Gintani driving it himself. So he definitely has hands. He can drive. We're just gonna watch this one more time. He needs some big balls to do this in the middle of the street in an SV. You hear that exhaust? Insane. Insane. All right, anyway, back to Gintani's car. So again, this is that car you saw in the video. So, I mean, it has been beat up a little bit in terms of it's been used. Only 6,700 miles. They want 530 grand for it. You know, that's not a bad deal at all. It is a 2017, so first model year, and it is a coupe. So it's not going to be the most valuable in terms of SVs. However, it has under 7,000 miles. It has a Gintani exhaust, which is expensive, 10, 15, 20 grand for that exhaust system. I'm not really sure the exact cost, to be honest, but it's an expensive system. 530 grand they're asking, and it is low miles. For me, being that it is low miles, I'd be around the, I'd try to get around 515 grand for this, but I'd be willing to go up to 520. Again, that's a small margin for these types of cars, but 515 is where I'd start off at. If you get this for 515, especially with these wheels, the HRE 305s, along with the original wheels, and try to get the original exhaust too. Not really too sure if that even exists anymore. This car has traded hands since it's had the exhaust done. So try to get as much original parts as possible. He said, how difficult is it to drive? It can't be harder to drive than a 911 turbo air-cooled. Yeah, I mean, those are old cars, so those are just going to have a bunch of other issues besides driving. You know, maintenance stuff and whatnot. Cool. Moving on to our next example. We have a 2018 Aventador S. We can see this one has bloody guts. It has the Q Citra interior, but it's not on the doors. I guess they stopped that with the S because I really haven't seen too many S's with the Q Citra on the doors. We can see here it also has the carbon fiber interior as well as having the black steering wheel, black multi-function steering wheel. Looking at the center console, do they show it? Yep. We have the heated electric seats. So this one is a roadster. Trying to see if this diffuser is in carbon or not. It actually kind of looks like it is. It looks like it has some shine to it, but this is an S. So again, yeah, this does look like it's in carbon compared to the other S we looked at. So carbon exterior, carbon interior. See the engine bay? We do have the carbon piece on the top of the engine. However, the cross brace and the surrounds are in plastic. $409,000, so a little bit less than what we were looking at. See, almost over $100,000 difference between the S and the SV. And the SV, the S has, let's scroll down to these power numbers. The S has 730 horsepower. The SV has 740. So it's like the S is kind of a better car in the sense that it's more streetable. It has four-wheel steering. It's a newer model than the SV. The S came out after the SV. So you also have the LDVA drive modes, the redesign, and you also have the downforce up from the base. I mean, that's less than the SV, but it's still up from the base. I think the Aventador S is probably one of the best ways to go about it if you have the money. This one, they're asking 410 grand for it. Let's keep scrolling. I think we've scrolled through all of it though. Yep. So carbon fiber interior and exterior. The engine bay could use some more, but you know, it's not the worst spec in the world. 14,000 miles. They want 410 grand. I'd say for me, being that this doesn't have the carbon fiber engine bay, you can see the carbon fiber. This is on the exterior, so it does have carbon fiber on the exterior. Carbon fiber engine bay, or carbon fiber exterior, carbon fiber interior, but no engine bay. I'd be willing to go up to 400 for this. especially because it has almost 14,000 miles. If it was under 10,000 miles, I'd be more keen to spend something closer to 410. But this overall is a good spec. Again, it is also a roadster, so that's going to command a higher value as well. But for me, being a roadster with 14,000 miles, 400 grand is where I'd be at. Cool. Moving on to our next example. Wow, we've been going for a minute. 2018 Aventador S. So we're getting up there in terms of model years. 440 grand they're asking. 12,000 miles on this car. It's a yellow car in Giallo Orion. We can see here that this does have the carbon fiber front diffuser. It also has the carbon fiber interior package. We can see that on the door handle. The Sensonum sound system as well. Interior is going to be a bi-color. It looks like an elegant interior. Nope, this is going to be a bi-color sportive interior using both Alcantara and leather. We also have the branding package. So bi-color, Alcantara, and leather with color matching stitching. Branding package. You also have the carbon fiber interior package as we mentioned. And then we can also see it has the heated and fully electric seats as well. So fully spec'd here. The only thing we're missing is Q Citra. But as we can see, carbon fiber front and rear. We can see that here as well. Engine bay. Are they going to show it? Waiting, scrolling. Engine bay has no carbon fiber whatsoever. So no carbon on the engine bay. We do have carbon interior and carbon exterior. But again, that is about it. Let's keep scrolling, see if we can see anything else. Just a cool interior spec, interesting spec. I wouldn't say it's the best looking spec. Not really a fan of Dolphin Gray at all in an interior. I think it looks not that great at all, honestly. But it is unique. It does look cool, kind of. For this one, it has a lot of carbon on the exterior. It also has carbon on the interior. However, there is no carbon fiber on the engine bay. 12,100 they're asking. Again, this is an S, so it's going to have four-wheel steering. It's going to have the updated drive modes. Yeah, nothing else really to speak of on this car. I'd say for me, this is kind of expensive for this. What this is, it is a 2018 S. We were looking at this 2018 S. They wanted 410. This one has about the same amount of miles, and they want 30 grand more. And I can't really tell why. Obviously, this one has carbon fiber, more carbon fiber than this example. So the only thing I can see about this is that this is a roadster, or this is a coupe, and the other one was this one is a roadster as well. So this one definitely not worth the price. I'd say for me, being that this one is basically the same spec as this. Wait, did I even price this one out? I can't remember what I priced this one at. Anyway, this one, I'd be around the $400,000, $405,000 mark. For this one, I'd be around the same price. 400 to 405 grand for this one. Not worth 440 at all. Cool. All right, let's move on to our second to last example. I promise you we're almost done. 2.5 hours. We're going strong. Shout out to everyone who's been sticking around. Don't forget to like the video if you haven't already. It helps me out a lot. It takes you half a second. It really takes you nothing, to be honest. Anyway, moving on. We have a 2020 SVJ. You can see this one, 10,000 miles. I picked this one simply because it had over 10,000 miles. Most SVJs are going to have under 10,000 miles. So I try to pick one that's reasonably priced, but as you can see, still expensive. 700K they're asking for. This one is in silver. You can see, again, full Alcantara wheel, full carbon interior. We also have the carbon. These are going to be the comfort seats, not the buckets. We have the branding package as well. But again, this is an SVJ, so it's going to come standard with pretty much everything. See, another thing I don't like about the SVJ is this engine cover. You can't see through it. It's like a Sesto Elemento cover, kind of. But it's not the same as a glass cover. Really nice pictures on this one. This one is exactly what they portray it to be. See what they have to say. Grigio Diana exterior, Nero Cosmos with Rosso Alala interior, internal cross stitching. What? Internal cross stitching? No. They just lied. They just literally just made that up. Internal cross stitching. SV ad personam interior. No. This is a standard interior, and it's an SVJ, not an SV. So I don't think this is the right. Like, what is the ad personam interior for an SVJ? Not sure. Carbon skin package, rocker cover in carbon, X frame and T in carbon fiber. They don't really show it though, so that's unfortunate. 700 grand for this, 10,000 miles. What am I gonna do? Lowball them, I guess. 650. I say 650. I'd be at that, but obviously, with these cars, they are still in the depreciation range, so I wouldn't suggest getting an SVJ anytime soon. maybe in the next 5 years. I'd say you wait. The first SVJs came out, around 2020, 2019. So yeah, I'd say wait until like 2028 to really get into the SVJ market. Hopefully by then, like, because the thing is, when you try to predict markets, they change. You can never predict the market. If you think you know the market, that's when it changes. So I'd say the more information people get on a market, the faster it moves. So people will say like, oh, check back on these in like 5 or 6 years, but that could possibly short into like 3 or 4 years in terms of when they bottom out. But again, right now, I still think the prices are way too high, even at 700 grand. Cool. Moving on to our last example, we have a 2022 Ultimate, very rare. In fact, this is the highest mile one I could find. Most of them are like under 1,000 miles because they're so new. But again, what the Ultimate is, it's a combination of the SVJ and the S. It's the SVJ internals with an S body, as well as updated. It has the ALA system. It has LDV. I forget exactly what that's called. It has the LDVA system. It's just a fully spec'd Aventador. It is the ultimate version. That's why it's called the Ultimate. It also makes the most amount of power. This one makes 769 horsepower. The SVJ makes 759 horsepower. So more power, more comfortable, just an overall better version of the car. Everything combined with the whole Aventador, everything they learned with the Aventador, they combined it into this one example. So we see here Ultimate has the SVJ exhaust. It also has the S front end. This one is a roadster. You can see the carbon fiber roof panels. The interior is also going to have the carbon fiber door panels. Full carbon interior on this one. Black wheel. Hey, who is this? Clean Whips? Hey, shout out to Clean Whips, man. I can't even read. Yeah, Clean Whips. Shout out to Clean Whips, man. Yeah, 100th episode. Had to go over my favorite car for the 100th episode, and you can see we've been going over for over 2.5 hours on this one. That's how much I love this car. We can see here the S comes with this special trim on the dash as well on the seats. It's going to be like this Lamborghini Y star design, kind of what you see in the tail lights. Again, carbon fiber everywhere. This is an Ultimate, so it really should be fully loaded. We also have the carbon fiber rear of the seats and headrests. Alcantara and leather wheel combo. Do they show? Yep, we got the full carbon exterior as well. Ton of pictures for this one. Engine bay, we can see this is the Ultimate has a special engine cover. It's going to be in gold, but unfortunately no carbon in this engine bay at all, which is surprising. We saw that there's carbon fiber pretty much everywhere else on this car, interior, exterior, front and rear, but no carbon fiber on the engine bay. And as you can also see, $12,000 a month for one of these. $12,000 a month. Like, that's more than people will ever make in their lifetime per month. And you spend it all on just driving this around. Anyway, 2,100 miles. They want 729 grand for it. These basically are brand new. Again, very hard to find one under or over 1,000 miles, let alone 2,000 miles. So this one's probably on the lower end of the market. I'd say I'd be around 700 grand. 700 grand for one of these. But again, these are prime for depreciation. So I wouldn't recommend even looking at these if you want to get a car if you actually like money. But if you don't like money, just buy one of these and you'll lose a ton of it. Anything to say? Nope. Cool. So that wraps up the show on the Aventador today. We'll rehash some of the things to look out for. I say the best year to get is going to be a 2015. It's going to balance the price in terms of depreciation as well as having the latest technology. It's not going to have stuff that the S comes with. The S is technically the latest technology. That's when it gets into the new age of Aventador. The Gen 2 is still an old Aventador in terms of body style. And in terms of the engine, you have the LP700 engine. So I really recommend getting a base model, 2015 and up. Again, they went all the way up to 2017. So you have 3 years of options to go for. Also with the Gen 2 cars, 2015 and up for the base, they do come with better interior options. You see more carbon fiber fitted ones. You see ones with better specs. So you're able to definitely, in a way, get a better deal in that sense, because you have less competition with these lower spec cars trying to fit into the market. So more people, they just want to get rid of their cars. People are selling their cars. If all of them are carbon fiber, then it's going to be much easier to negotiate in that way. In terms of options to get, I highly suggest getting an Elegante interior. It's going to be all leather, and it's going to be a light color leather. It's going to bring a lot of brightness to a very dark interior. It's very cavernous, like cocoonish interior, especially if you get a coupe. So the light colors definitely bring that out. If you don't want to go the luxury way, definitely recommend getting a bi-color sportive that is either going to be half leather, half Alcantara, or all Alcantara. Those are definitely going to be the more unique sporting or more unique sport specs you can get. It's not going to be luxury, it's going to be sporty. Also, you want to get as much carbon fiber as you can. In terms of the exterior, definitely want to make sure that the carbon fiber is factory exterior parts. On the interior, you have a little bit more leeway in terms of the parts. If you get a whole kit for your interior, you know, it looks good. People can't really tell, but it's going to be a little bit cheaper than trying to do the same for the exterior parts. So try to get the exterior in carbon from the jump. You can always upgrade the interior if you want. Just know that it's going to cost you a little bit. In terms of the engine cover, you want to make sure you have all three pieces: surround, engine cover itself, that little T piece in the middle, as well as the cross brace in carbon. However, it's going to be hard to find all those in carbon. We looked at a bunch of examples today, and only like a handful, 5 or 6 of them, had complete carbon engine bays. And even those cars didn't have the rest of the carbon. So it's going to be really hard to find one in exactly the spec that you want, or that I want. So you're going to have to kind of make do with what you can find. But as I mentioned before, a lot of these are getting dumped on the market right now simply because the Revuelto is coming out. So you'll be able to find a lot of them in the near future. In terms of wheels, I like the Iperioni wheels, but the Dioni wheels are going to be the most popular ones. The Iperioni ones are usually only found on the earlier models. Transparent engine cover is a must. We really didn't see any without the transparent engine cover. So it's going to be pretty common to find that. Hue Citra stitching is also a big option. Not necessary, but a big option. They do add a lot of flair to the interior. Steering wheel, smooth, suede, perforated leather. Doesn't really matter. The perforated leather is going to be the most common one. It looks like kind of like a golf ball. And so, yeah, that's going to be the most common. Branding package, again, most cars have the branding package with the logo on the crest, or the crest on the headrest, and the logo on the dash. Seat details in carbon fiber, the back of the headrest, seat covers, very, very high ticket option. Not many cars have these at all because it's the back of your seat. Like, it doesn't really matter. But again, the details matter for these types of things. So if you can get that, that would be a really good option to have. Interior carbon fiber, again, I'd say prioritize the exterior carbon fiber, but the interior carbon fiber is a big plus as well. Fully electric and heated seats, definitely have to get these. Unless you have a car with the bucket seats, don't get a car with the regular seats that aren't heated or electric. That's just a poverty spec. Sensonum premium sound definitely is a must for me, at least, because I love sound systems in cars. That's where I listen to sound. That's where I listen to music, is in cars. I rarely put on headphones. I always just play it in the car. Of course, this is a V12 Lamborghini. A lot of people are going to say, well, you should just listen to the engine. Well, I like music too, man. And I'm not always going to be thrashing this car. So music is always a good thing in that sense. Multifunction wheel. Get a multifunction wheel. They don't look any different than the regular wheels. So multifunction is a good option to have. It makes it a little more convenient. Parking assistance is also a must. The rear camera is a must. I don't know how you can drive this car without a rear camera. You're going to need like a spotter every time you park. Home link, that's just garage stuff. In terms of problems, we went over this kind of, but don't get the 2012 or 2014 unless you really find one that has been cared for. And if it's a 2013 or 2014, has some coating done on the transmission. That way it shifts a little bit better. The 2012, you should just avoid completely. First model year, just avoid it. 2012, unless you find it for like sub 150 and it's a clean title or something, I wouldn't recommend getting it. And problems, again, mostly due to the transmission. Keep in mind the clutch life too. If you're looking at a car in between 10 and 20,000 miles, keep in mind that depending on how hard the car was driven, the clutch could be on its way out. You just never know. Again, that's why I try to keep it in the lower range, simply because if you keep it around 10,000 miles, you know for sure that you at least have a little bit of clutch life. You can get at least 3,000, 4,000 miles out of it. Realistically, of course, the worst examples are going to wear out right after you buy it if you buy it at 10 grand. But realistically, most of them will probably last 5,000 miles after that. And as I mentioned before, at the present time, this isn't a car that I would keep simply because it is not at the bottom of its depreciation curve. This is something I'd have for a couple years and try to sell for a little bit more than I paid for it to make up for what I spent in maintenance and running costs like fuel, tires, and whatnot. Ideally, you find a car with the brakes and tires and everything done, just leaving a service. That way you don't have to worry about any of that, and you can just sell it and not have to do any work. But that would be, an ideal situation. Other than that, yeah, you can get the SV and SVJ. The SV, I think, is the best value in terms of keeping its value. It's bottomed out in terms of its value. Just look at the Mercy SVs. I get it. They were made in a lot less numbers, but Mercy SVs are $1 million. Aventador SVs are $500,000, and they are better cars. So I suspect the Aventador SV will reach $1 million in the next 10 years easy. SVJ will be around the same price, probably just slightly more, simply because the SVJ is a newer car. The SV is kind of like the old style Lambo. SVJ is the S style of Aventador, so it's like new body style. SV is the old body style. So keep that in mind. The SVJs are not nearly at the bottom of their depreciation. I think they will probably drop down to around the prices of an SV before they bottom out and continue to go back up. The SVs are around 500K, so I believe that the SVJs still have around 200K of depreciation left, especially for those high mile examples. So keep that in mind. I suggest staying away from the SVJ for a while. Stay away from the Ultimate for a long time. The S is definitely going to be a good value in the future, especially considering that you can get a base Aventador for $350 for a nice one, and you can get an S, same mileage, for around $400. So that extra $50K definitely will save you in terms of like running costs. For example, just think about it this way: if you get a 2015 S or a 2015 base for $350, you're probably going to put maybe 3,000 miles on it. You're going to sell it for what, in the 330s, maybe 340. Ideally, you could get 350, but we're being realistic here: 330 to 340. With the Aventador S, you're going from 400 about, that's kind of on the lower end, but 400 about to down to like, I'd say like, it's not going to get any lower than 380. So you have the same margin, 20 grand, right? But you're working with a bigger number, so it's a smaller percentage. So you're going to lose less money in terms of percentage with the S than the other models. I do believe the S is definitely probably the best overall model you can get. It comes with everything in terms of the new technology, but it also is not super expensive and super rare in terms of comparing it to the SVJ, the Ultimate, and the S, or the SVJ and the Ultimate. So if you want to get the cheapest one, how do I phrase this? If you want to get the cheapest Aventador while still getting a reliable one, get a 2015 base. If you want to get the cheapest Aventador that'll probably hold its value a little bit better, well, that's the thing. Like, the S's are still newer compared to the bases, so you still have more depreciation in that sense. But I do believe that in the long run, more people want S's than bases. Yeah, that's what's going on here. Hey man, chill out. All right. Anyway, so yeah, for me though, 2015 all day. That's what I'd be looking at. The S is what I would upgrade into if I were to get another one after, and then hopefully after that the SV, and that's where I would stay. So that wraps up the Lamborghini Aventador, my favorite supercar, the best supercar that you can buy. Again, the last of the old school supercars, single clutch, V12, naturally aspirated, mid-engined. You really can't get any better than this. There's a reason why, Lamborghinis are the best in terms of the wow factor, the sound, the feeling. It's just everything culminated into this car right here. So that wraps it up. Shout out to everyone who stayed for the 2 hours and 45 minutes I've been talking about this car. Insane. Shout out to the 4 people. Give me that horn. But yeah, 100th episode. Many more to come. I'm going to do more deep dives into this. This was kind of like a hybrid episode. I did kind of more discussion about the car, but also did ad reviews. You'll see more episodes in the future where I'm not going to do ad reviews at all. I'm just going to do market analysis as well as talk about the lore about a car, because that is also interesting, especially because market reviews, they don't really stand the test of time, if that makes sense. Like, the watchability goes down as time goes on because the pricing information becomes less relevant. So sticking to that, I'm still going to do price analysis or price ad guides, ad reviews. It's been 3 hours. I'm kind of losing it at this point. I'm going to still do ad reviews, but I'm trying to, shuffle in some more discussion-based videos here and there. Again, a lot of people probably won't watch the discussion-based videos because that's more about my opinions on the car, but this is my channel, so it doesn't really matter. You'll see what you'll see what I give you. Anyway, yeah, I'm tired. I have a headache. Thank you guys for sticking around. As always, like the video, subscribe if you haven't. 80% of you guys who watch these videos aren't subscribed. I suspect that everyone watching now is actually subscribed, so this doesn't really apply to you. But if it's your first video of mine, hit that subscribe button. I do a lot of deep dives into vehicles. And yeah, tomorrow I will have a regular buyer's guide. Not really sure what car I'm going to do, but it's going to be a shorter version, a shorter video. So stay tuned for that. As always, peace. Have a good one.